In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true. that man has no control, even over his own destiny. And then the guitars would start playing, and it'd be like, feel no shame about shape, wear the chain. That's how the anime intros.
Okay, cool. So
Hi,
I'll
welcome
I'll
to
look
the
forward to
Comics
that.
Corner. My name is Johnny. I'm here with my co-host Mike.
Hello.
And today we will be reviewing Berserk, probably my favorite manga, and one of my favorite animes. And the quote I just read is directly from the intro to the anime, along with the guitars and such that would follow.
Is the lighter involved also, or is that just?
That was supposed to be for dramatic effect, but every time you talk in front, well, now
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
if
knocks
it's too
it out.
close. It just there you go.
Well,
I should have kept it out here.
It looked cooler in the anime, guys. Just believe us.
Yeah, but I also don't have the same budget they had back
Exactly.
in
Yeah,
'97.
we just have post-it notes on a lighter. But yeah, thanks to everybody for coming out. We are here at the Comics Corner again. This is episode number 8, and we're talking about Berserk.
Oh, I should have started it like that.
Put the lighter in front of that bad boy.
Next time.
That's it. Started over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were talking about volumes 1 through 3, which are combined in the deluxe edition hardbound that we've got here by Dark Horse. So far seems to be kind of the best way to get Berserk, because otherwise it comes, there's the 40 volumes, or again, like these deluxe editions contain 3 volumes in there. So
it'll be 13 just to catch us up. And then, well, because there's only 40 out now, but the story's not over, so it should continue.
Exactly. Yeah. So it started in 1989, which is where Volume 1 was released, by Kentaro Miura. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but
No, I think that's right. Kentaro Miura.
it feels right.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, tell me if I'm wrong in the chat.
I called
And
some
then
guy named Scoochie last week. That wasn't right. So
and volume number 40, the last one came out in 2018, so it's been a minute since he's last putting out. But
did you happen to see when 39 came out just to see what the gaps?
no,
were like?
that one I didn't write down offhand. But
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But I think he takes a few years in between.
Yeah, because each book usually contains a handful of chapters. Right now there are over 350 chapters. For the most part, in these first 3 volumes, there was anywhere from about like 2 to 3 or 4-ish chapters in there. There wasn't necessarily a set amount, but that was the rate at which he was writing them. And yeah, I guess the upfront review here. Johnny, in the same way that like Uzumaki is like like one of my favorites in terms of manga. It seems like that's, not to put words in your mouth, but it seems to be that's the case for Johnny too. Just a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
I really liked what I read too.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite. Yeah, I will stand by it. It's my favorite manga. It's not my favorite anime, but I think it's the most badass franchise out of like Japan animation. Like Dragon Ball's my favorite. I think My Hero Academia is the best, but I think this is the most badass if I had to give them like a category. Like Berserk it is what it says. And something that I feel like you learn right away about our main character that we learn in this is he will do anything to win, and he's always going to win. And because of the way the story's told, there's some like time jumping, so that like he at least gets to the point where the beginning of the story is, and you're like, man, whatever he's going to come up against in between, like he's going to get through. And like I think that's just what makes him badass, man. Like Goku, like in Dragon Ball, like Goku always comes up against a challenge he can't beat, but then like he gets stronger, and like there's always these like power levels. With him, it's just like digging into deep will, like he's a human being. And
exactly.
It's cool. It's a different type of like rising to the occasion.
Yeah, Guts is definitely a cool character. He is kind of, almost not in a negative sense, but kind of like the generic badass of, like you said, like he's just, the strong silent type. He doesn't really say too much usually, and usually more so prefers to speak through his actions, which that action is usually swinging around a very large sword.
That sword, man.
But yeah, so yeah, it's Guts and Berserk, like it's characters in a story that I kind of knew some of, just through osmosis. Like, I forget if we mentioned it on the last show, or maybe I was just talking to you off cam about it. But like, one of my favorite video game franchises is called Demon Souls, which is interesting because they actually do mention the word Demon Souls in here at 1.2. But it was that was a heavy influence for the video game, at least in terms of the aesthetic. In some cases, like the armor and also the weapon. Like at one point, you could get basically Guts's, like iron slab of a sword. So it's stuff that I've kind of gotten through the periphery, and there's other media that I like that takes heavily from Berserk. So it's interesting now to kind of, loop back around and kind of read where it all came from in some regards. And yeah, I really liked it. I'm definitely interested to see where it goes from here. It is a bummer to know that it's not finished, and if it will ever get finished, who knows? So that's, I usually like to just like speed through everything and get the complete story. But
and like we were just saying a few minutes ago off camera, this is like a really quick read, and like Uzumaki, not in a bad way. It's a quicker read, and a lot of the pages are just no text, just
graphics. Because I think in the book it was like 700 or more pages, and it certainly didn't feel that way. Like it definitely is probably the quickest read yet for the comic book corner. Even though
687,
yeah,
688.
Even though it is objectively the longest in terms of page count, but yeah, like it's kind of the polar opposite to the Watchmen.
The cover art in the back.
Yeah, there's a lot of great art. We'll definitely get into that. The art was definitely amazing. Real quick, in the chat, Babby Yoda says, "Never been this early. Hi guys." Hey there, Babby Yoda. I don't know how early it is by you. For here, we're actually a little late. It's 8:45 basically. We're running a little bit late. Normally we try to be on here at 8, but a lot of customers in the store, which is not a bad thing.
No, today was definitely the most occupied I've seen this place since
it's awesome.
We shut down, so it was really cool to see. Actually.
Yeah, like it's cool. It's never a bad thing, sometimes because depending on what we're helping people with, whether it's pulling orders or helping customers around, we didn't get like the gate down until like about 8:30 anyway. So
I forgot how to use the register.
You type in the money number.
I know now.
And then you hit send.
Oh, but man,
and then
the
you put the money in
came
there.
up, he's like, "I'm gonna get these," and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna help you."
Exactly. Yeah, just hand me a credit card, and eventually I'll hopefully I'll get it right.
Yeah. Well, we got that new thing, the new credit card. Reader, and which is fine. Nobody told me. I didn't know, and I'm like trying to swipe the guy's card on the old thing, and he's like, "Maybe we should try this one." I'm like, "Yeah, let's try that." And in my head, I'm like, "Man, you should work here." Crap.
Exactly.
Then again, you don't have my extensive knowledge of Berserk by Kentaro Miura, so
I doubt they do.
Work here.
But yeah. So apologies for being a little bit late. But they say me joining the stream so early. Yeah, Joe. The earlier the better. You get to hear the review at the front, and then you get to hear our extensive recap. In this case, of the first 3 volumes of Berserk. So yeah, I think out the gate, as far as our review, both big fans of it. Definitely recommend it. I would, definitely recommend this version too. The Dark Horse, I guess deluxe editions. Not only because they're definitely it's slightly bigger. I forget. Do you want to grab one of the? We've got the manga stack right over there.
Yeah,
Berserk's not in there, but it's definitely bigger.
Oh, that box. Okay, so you don't think I'm crazy? There was a box that blended into the ground. I didn't just trip over nothing. I'm so glad that was directly on camera. What if I would have biffed it and broke my face into the counter?
It would definitely be on par for Berserk and the ultra violence that is happening in this. But yeah, here we go.
It's actually a pretty big size comparison. Because I've never had them next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the size normally of the manga.
I don't even think an omnibus is this much bigger than the regular comic book, and I'm dead serious.
No, I mean
it's on like an inch to each side. That's
it's kind of like you're getting the art in a bigger size, so you can definitely enjoy it better.
And one of the it's just a part of it. It's not like a criticism, but you get gutter loss in these little books. You see, that's what they call it here. Like how you kind of have to really stretch it open to see the center there. That's called gutter loss. In a nice hardcover that opens flat, like we always talk about the binding, there's literally like none of that. You see how you can see where the page ends? If this was the soft cover, it'd be a little more like that.
Yeah, so you're not trying to tear it open to find every little detail. No.
Yeah, and eventually if you're doing that to paperbacks, they might eventually lose their form. But that's, again, it's always pros and cons. These are portable, they're compatible, they're easier to read. I mean, this is way easier to hold. Not that that's hard, but this is easier.
Yeah. So you're saying in this deluxe edition of Berserk, there's no guts loss.
Oh! Microphone down, show's over, best show ever.
Thanks. Sorry for starting late, but we ended early, yeah. Shout out to Kentaro.
Started late, ended early. That's the mic way. I love it.
Yeah. Bad puns aside, I would definitely recommend this edition because they're about $50 each. But again, like for 3 volumes of a manga at an extended size, great like actual like production quality of the book itself.
Yeah.
You get to see the art, which is definitely what you want in something like this because it's all about like the art and the details. It's highly detailed, and then there's like you really get to enjoy the occasional like those splash pages where it's like the 2 pages of just like one scene that's happening.
Well, and like for me personally, like sometimes with certain books, I'm cool like if I read a digital form or not. Like the art is so amazing on this that like any type of digital doesn't do it justice. Like I would recommend you have a Berserk version of this over digital, and then I'd recommend the deluxe over the Berserk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's some of the best artwork I've ever seen, and considering this is the first volume and he's only going to get better.
Yeah, and this was, like I said, like 89, and he's still going on today. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know, artists might peak at some point.
Yeah, and not to knock it. I mean, there was the occasional thing of like proportions not being right, but I mean that's like nitpicking. Like to be fair, like I didn't really get into it with Uzumaki, but like Junji Ito definitely has a problem too of like he has like same face syndrome, like with a lot of his characters, like especially throughout his other books. Like so, like nobody's perfect, but it was just a thing of still great, and he's only getting better too. So
yeah, and I don't know, man. I think like based off my experience with this, like I don't want to say I went into it blind, but like everything I knew about it before I read it the first time was like just like looking up. I would Google like what's the best anime of all time, and someone would make a top 10 list, and Berserk would be on it. Hey, what's the best manga of all the time? So I would make a top 10 list. Berserk was always on it. So I'm like, well, enough people like this that I'm gonna just go into it. Like I didn't know who Guts was, none of that. So to find out just by reading it, and it was cool, and I got hooked and attached to the characters. Like it's a really good read. Yeah,
and we don't really get to go too much into his backstory. We just kind of see Guts. Yes. Kind of not at his peak, but like just in almost like an everyday life, like one of his early quests, I assume, or at least one of the ones we get to see. But
well, and one last comment about the quickness of the reading. I know we've talked on previous shows that like within the next week or two, Volume 5 is coming out. So that's the first 15 of the little ones, and like. Even at that, I still might wait for 1 or 2 more to come out before I really do like a read through because I'm going to burn through them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I read this whole book not even in just a day, in like a matter of a couple hours.
Yeah.
So like times that by even 7, you're okay. A week's worth, and you
exactly.
Wait, so I gotta let it build up a little bit personally. But I've also read it already once before.
Sure.
It's just I want to read it when I'm reading it in this format. I kind of just want to.
Yeah, and there definitely are like a lot of fight scenes in this, and like that could be like almost like 20 pages, but like there's usually like no actual like dialogue on there, no nothing, just kind of like the sound effects bubbles. But yeah, like it goes by pretty quick, and like.
Which I feel like I don't know if I'm right about this. I feel like some of the sounds were translated.
There were. I don't know. Okay. I didn't notice if certain ones weren't, but yeah, there was usually kind of like the translator's notes usually on the sides.
Right.
It's either written on top of it or sometimes like at like the footnote of it of like clang bang.
Yeah, all that fun clink, stuff. Clink and clank right here.
There they are.
And gulp.
Confirmed.
Clink clink and gulp. No, clink clank and gulp. That should be the name of our soul band, our soul group. Clink Clink
Soul Band.
Yeah, we got to start a soul group, man. Me and Davis.
I don't mind. That's fair.
Yeah, we're a diverse group of men. I think that'd be really cool. I'm trying to find a really cool like splash page to show.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost too many. Oh, look at all those skeletons.
I know. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So there's like one word bubble on this entire Colette. And then it's just, sound effects and this eerie image.
Boy, I hope Colette's okay. I'm sure nothing bad happened to Colette.
I won't, spoiler free, I won't jump into the details on it, but like when I was rereading it this time, I got to that point and I was like, man, I can't remember what happens, but I'm like, something happens.
Like, yeah.
And then it happened, I was like, that's right. That's messed up.
That's right. Nothing good ever happens in this anime.
No, it's very Walking Dead in that regard.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
There's a tremendous amount of death and a tremendous amount of here's a character, they're dead.
Yeah, oops.
Oh, I thought there was going to be some story.
Hope you didn't get too attached to that character. Yeah.
No, actually, I do remember reading it the first time, thinking that because there is some differences in the anime and manga, and I watched the anime first. I thought they were going to make that collect girl into somebody else from the anime.
Okay.
And then so I didn't expect her to meet her untimely end.
Sure.
So
an early RIP for Colette, and
yeah.
If I could get an F in the chat for my boy Vargas when we get into it.
What does that mean? I don't even know.
It's basically the same thing as RIP. Does it feel like a threat? Is that what you said?
I just say that sometimes. When I like at Starbucks a lot, if I didn't hear what somebody said, I'd be like, "Did you just swear at me?" And they'd be like, "What? No, I'm sorry." And I'd be like, "Oh, I was just kidding. I don't know what you said."
Maybe they did.
Maybe they did.
And there's no way to find out. But yeah, again, as far as our review portion of this, big fans of it. I look forward in the same way that Johnny does to the later volumes. Man, that is the bummer too. Now of like I'm kind of hooked onto it, but now do I want to wait till all 15 or whatever
right,
all
so
the volumes are out?
Buy the first 5 of these and then buy the little ones 16 through. It's a hard sell. Actually, a guy I follow on YouTube just did that. He purchased the hardcovers and then was so hooked he went out and bought all the little ones, and we'll upgrade as they come.
That's the problem that I'm kind of seeing right now is like, am I gonna fall down that rabbit hole? But yeah, like I said, like at least volume 5 will be out soon, so I've got that to look forward to. Yeah. But until then, we just had volumes 1 through 3, and man, right out the gate, volume 1, page 1,
out the gate.
I guess we're gonna be showing images from this as usual. I guess
is very
content warning of it covers kind of all the bases. Like there's sex, there's violence, there's sex, there's violence.
There's a lot of sex and violence.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of mature themes and
this is TVMA.
Exactly. Put the kids to bed. Sorry, Babby Yoda. No babbies allowed.
That's right.
This is an 18+ stream. So yeah, we'll.
Or if you're like I was as a kid, you just sneak into the living room when your parents go to sleep and watch. I'm sure you did too. So I have to encourage the youth to be a little mischievous. You
had Berserk Volume 1 inside inside your Bible that you're just
exactly
in the living room, your Bible open, and then just.
You know what I was thinking about with that is in Back to the Future 2 when he gets the almanac and it's the Ooh La La magazine. Ooh La La, exactly. Ooh La La. I have that soundbite like permanently etched in my brain of Michael J. Fox saying Ooh La La. Somebody else in the chat does too now. They're like, exactly, he's right.
Yeah. But yeah, right out the gate,
literally,
we are thrown into it. Here is Guts with a lady, having some fun in the middle of a field in the forest.
Yeah. And then
but that fun quickly turns to dread as she becomes some weird demon, and this series is exactly. Speaking of splash pages, there you go.
Yeah, right off the bat. So this lady just transformed mid fornication into a giant beast creature.
And this reminds me too, one of the interesting things in the same way that at the start of Uzumaki there's like the full color pages. This one, it's almost like a different drawing style. It's as if there was kind of more almost like a not sketchy because sketch sounds bad, but yeah, like it's like almost like a charcoal type drawing that's slightly more detailed than like the animated ink
so this is
ones
like
that follow.
The charcoal he's talking about, and then this is like how the normal pages
exactly
look.
Yeah.
So they are slightly different, but they're both black and white. But yeah, it's awesome. I actually had forgotten about that until I was reading it through.
It was definitely cool to see kind of like the extra detail at the start of the chapters. But yeah, right out the gate we see that, and he quickly puts her down. He shoots her in the mouth with his. It was tough to tell at the beginning like what even happened because like I didn't know the character or what was going on, but like he puts his metal hand inside her mouth, and then there's a sound effect of like boom or something in the distance, and like her mouth is like on fire, and he's slowly walking away.
There he is.
Because cool guys never look at explosions.
Shoving his hand into her mouth. I don't know how easy it is to see on the screen, but it's so clear, as the crystal clear in person looking at it. And then there's like her on fire, like, which I think they did intentionally. So like, it was a little confusion.
I mean, I was just thrown into it. So many questions, so many.
I know.
Things.
I remember the first time reading this and opening that first page and being like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, make sure there's no.
Because that's not how the anime opens. The anime skips that part.
I'm missing out the best part. And yeah, right out the gate, that's kind of our introduction to Guts. Like he kills this demon, and then at night in the forest, and then next scene it's morning in some kind of medieval town. So again, this is very much a dark fantasy type novel. Like it's a lot of like. medieval like castles and swords.
Knights and royalty and bishops and
it's
archers.
It's relatively like
but not the
kind of
John Benjamin
like
guy.
loosely lower fantasy. Like we do see more. Babiota says, "What's with all these black and white books?" LOL. After Uzumaki now Berserk, we were in a manga kick here.
No, wait, we mean all of these. That's 2. We've had like 8 reviews. That's like a 20%. That's very low.
Exactly. Yeah.
And maybe we're gonna do some colored next week.
Exactly. Yeah. We've got to decide. We'll stick around to the end because we're gonna decide on what this next week's book is. Will it be another anime? Who knows? Probably not.
Probably not. But
real quick, that reminds me. I do have my pin here that says "Anime was a mistake." I've some eagle-eyed viewers might notice that I've worn a pin related to each book in each stream. I don't really have that much of a good Berserk one, so this one just says "Anime was a mistake," except for Berserk. Berserk was not a mistake. Berserk is good anime, good mangas. So
I want to, but I won't because this is too tense for me. But I've seen people at conventions with it. I've seen people tattooed on their neck. Like
I want to say my buddy, one of my friends, is a huge. So I mostly knew Berserk and Guts stuff through him, but I want to say he's got a tattoo of the brand of Sacrifice too. But yeah,
not on his neck though.
No, I don't think so. But that's what I was looking at. I was on Google the other night, just like looking at all the like brand tattoos that people have on their necks. So
I'll have to tell you the Google it story one day. Why I always say that though. Not tonight, but that's a Johnny. That's a time where we have a lot of time. That's a good story.
It's a good long story. But yeah, so next day, medieval castle. Just walking around town, we see kind of like life in this village, and then inside of a tavern, we meet the men of Koka Castle. We basically come into it, and they're throwing knives at this captive elf named
like a fairy, but
named Puck. Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. In this universe, they're referred to as elves, but yeah, like you might know it as like a fairy or a pixie, kind of like a small humanoid creature with some kind of magic abilities.
Actually, not even jokingly, you know what? And some of the things that go on here really remind me of being serious, is like of Tinkerbell and Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Because Tinkerbell gets like the happiness and clapping like brings her back to life, and whenever Guts is going through pain, it like affects Puck. I just thought that was a weird.
Yeah, because not to jump ahead too much, but yeah, Puck, part of like his magic abilities. That's one of the things too.
Right.
Is right out the gate here. Like I don't know if you want to show like the full image of like it's like. Puck is kind of
feminine, I would say.
Yeah, like it's I guess androgynous. It's kind of like the long like pixie hair, a Ken doll kind of body. Like there's no like genitalia, no like showing stuff like that. But I for the longest time I kind of took Puck to be a female, because I don't think they refer to Puck as he or she. And just kind of like going off the look of it. But it wasn't until I like looked it up later that they mentioned that, and you mentioned that like at one point in the actual manga they do call it out directly. But
yeah, even me reading it the first time, I distinctly remember getting to whatever point that was, and I was like, "Oh, it's a dude." I'm like, I just went 40 chapters thinking
exactly.
It was a girl.
Yeah.
It works either way.
It's yeah. And
just we're pointing it out. To
exactly.
You.
Yeah. It's neither here nor there. But like I was in my notes and stuff I was referring to as Puck as like she or her or she did this. But yeah, like it's just kind of an androgynous pixie. But one of their abilities is that they could like almost like an empath. Like she could kind of he could absorb like the feelings of people around him, and is just able to kind of take that in, and like if it's like negative emotions, he becomes like depressed and downtrodden, and if it's positive stuff, he feeds off that. So yeah, it's interesting that like the Tinkerbell connotations there.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it.
Sorry, Baby says, did you just really assume Puck's gender?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did.
I had to, exactly, because there was no actual call-outs or straightening of that from the beginning. So yeah, I made an assumption, and I was wrong. Every once in a while,
there's gonna be a meme of me with this book in my hand, looking confused.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be like, this man assumes genders of fairies that are really elves.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you call a fairy an elf?
Yeah.
An elf a fairy? But yeah. So again, like Puck is kind of being held captive here, and having knives thrown at him by these these men of Kakor Castle, who From the other bar patrons, we kind of infer that they're this group of knights from the nearby castle, and they're not really well liked. They seem to be causing trouble, but because they work for basically the Baron and the Count of the area, they kind of have impunity. So there's no real way to stop them, and so even though people object to what's happening around them, they don't really want to stand up, because they'd possibly getting chopped down or like picked on by these knights too. But you know who's not afraid of them?
Guts. Yeah, man, he walks right into this bar and he drops. I like this because he's such a badass dude.
Yeah, this is very much like cowboy like walking into a saloon, like pushing the doors open, and then the guy playing the piano stops and they all like turn at him. So
yeah, and he walks up to the counter and he throws a coin down and he says, "I'm gonna mess up your shop a bit," and the barkeeper's like, "Huh?" And then he starts messing up his shop. So yeah, he sees these guys picking on this fairy. I'm gonna keep calling it fairy. I know it's an elf. Pulls out his little
his repeater crossbow, which was an actual weapon.
Yeah.
So
and then you're like, what the hell's going on here? And then just no conversation, just darts the dude right through the head.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what this book is.
Exactly.
Oh, here's a character who's throwing knives, dart through the head.
Boy, I hope they don't get chopped in half by Guts's 7 foot long, 3 foot wide sword.
Witness that over and over again, dude. He pierces both this guy's nostrils with one shot right there, and then pulls it out. I've seen that happen in a punk rock mosh pit. I'm not even kidding. It was an eyebrow, though. Still messed up, but that's what that made me think of. I was like 14. I was at the Warped Tour, and there was some kid walking out of the pit, with a bunch of blood. And I'm like, oh, God, this punk rock. Cool.
He should have been picking on those elves then.
That's right. And then, he just keeps throwing down with these dudes, and he's trying to get a message delivered to their boss, the Baron.
Mm-hmm.
And he just lets them know that the Black Swordsman has come.
Mm-hmm.
He is the Black Swordsman. See right there. The Black Swordsman has come. And then some dudes try sneaking up on him, and Puck yells behind you, and this is the first time we see.
Yeah.
He unsheaths.
I was gonna say that's one of the things is.
Oh.
It's very much like anime meme of putting your sword over your back, but also I was thinking about where does he keep that sword? Because we don't. Yes.
I can't believe you're saying this because reading it this time, I noticed that there's this little buckle that hangs off right there,
okay.
And I'm like, he's got a clip to something on his back.
Because I was like, he's always wearing a cloak. We never really see behind him. I'm like, where's he sheathing that bad boy? Because also where is there a sheath that big for that? But okay.
Yeah, I know. It was this scene right here. I was really.
There we go.
So yeah, he swings.
There's an iconic splash image there too of the first time we see him take out that sword and bam.
Cuts dude in half, and this is a very common Kentaro Miura technique that he uses throughout this is this blood splash. He's slicing through stuff and the blood's following to kind of make it this swooshing action.
Yeah, that's a lot of the force and motion to the still image.
It does. Yeah, the sword has all those lines going through it to show some action.
Clank, just shatters the floorboards at the bottom too.
Oh yeah, you're right, man. That's so. I mean, God, this artwork is just so good.
There's so much going on in just one image. And then that's also where we get, as far as quotes for Berserk, probably one of the more popular ones of talking about his sword, which here they even say, is it a sword? It was much too big to be called a sword, massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a heap of raw iron.
Okay, I'm not making this up. When I was reading this and I read that line, I'm like, Mike's gonna want to use that as his quote for the end.
I had a quote from the first book and the last book.
Okay.
So we'll have to stick around and find the second quote.
Yeah, because I got to the intro today, which doesn't happen too often. We're gonna go back to Mike next week. But I love Berserk so much that I said I want to.
I'm sure Alan won't like that there was lighters being going off in the stores. So that's Johnny's first and last intro. I'm sorry.
That's right. Yeah. While you were starting fires in my comic shop.
No.
Dramatic effect.
It's for the video.
I'm not pyro.
But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things is, I mean, again, there's it's mostly dialogue in this book, and there's not that many almost just there's nobody really saying that. It's more just a little aside. So there wasn't that many quote opportunities, but yeah, that was definitely one of the ones because even I knew that. I remember reading that one before I ever read this one. I definitely had heard that one before. And yeah, it definitely fits because that's no sword. That's just a slab of iron that he just somehow manages to brandish and easily cut people in twain. So
that's no move.
That wasn't. It's a sword. And then Guts basically frees Puck, but not necessarily to like free Puck. It's kind of for his own gains, like you mentioned there, to kind of send a message to the Baron. So then we see Guts and Puck kind of going about town. We find out that Guts is not a fan of Puck or elves in general. We kind of see Guts definitely has this kind of anti-hero mentality to him. Like he's not looking to make friends. He's just kind of out for himself. Doesn't like weak people. And yeah, he doesn't really want to spend too much time with Puck because, again, he wasn't doing it to save him. It was just kind of like, you're just an incidental outcome of this. So he's going about town, and then Guts is surrounded and captured by presumably more of the Coca Castle guardsmen. There he is, surrounded. We then see at the castle where he is being tortured and taken to the town mayor. Again, some like kind of generic badass stuff of like he's getting tortured. He's like not really saying much. He's just kind of enduring the pain. We meet the town mayor who kind of comes in. He had heard.
I love that it like pisses off
the torture guy. Yeah.
He's like, "You bastard! You're not making any noise." That's sick. I love it.
Yeah,
I love how disturbed everybody is.
Yeah, there's a lot of like rough customers in this whole book.
Yeah.
But yeah, we meet the town mayor who had heard of what happened, and is kind of he's shook by all this because then he's going to have to eventually be the one to report to the Baron what happened, and he's a little intimidated by that. Let me see here.
Well, I like this too when he's when the mayor comes in to meet him and have this conversation. He looks over to the side and sees this image here, which are all of Guts' weapons, and he says, "That stockpile of weapons, it belongs to this man? Yes, Lord Mayor, enough weapons to start his own war. Crazy bastard."
Exactly, yeah.
I love that. This dude who has an army at his disposal is like, "Oh my god, look at all your weapons."
Exactly, that's just one dude. And then, we hear about more about the Baron, who is the kind of the warhead. He's an inhuman ruler of Coca Castle, they call him. Yeah, like I love that. I love that serpent helmet that he has. And Guts says that he's familiar with him. Exactly. It's such a Hufflepuff move. Guts says that he's familiar with the Baron who eats flesh. And we get to see a bit about the Baron. And then the mayor next is going to seek forgiveness from the Baron. So they take him to his castle.
Too. Yeah. He says that the way he's been keeping the Baron at bay essentially is by sacrificing children and women to him as like meals or sacrifices.
Mm-hmm. There's like a small, like quick little scene on the way inside of town. There's like a cart being taken out towards like the castle that has like it's just a cage, and there's like some women and children in it. Yeah.
Is that you can see it, huh?
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe you're right. I just didn't like.
It's like one of the first like few pages. Yeah. When he first enters town, like it's on the way out. Yep.
Yeah, they're all exiting as he's entering. Yeah, and the mayor, he says, "Well, I'm doing this to keep my people safe." And Guts calls him on his BS. He's like, "Oh no, you're doing this to keep."
Exactly. Yeah. You're saving your own hide and appeasing the Baron by doing this. Yeah. So the next scene is the mayor heads to Coca Castle and is seeking forgiveness from the Baron. He's very intimidated in this scene.
There's our first look at the
exactly.
Baron.
Yeah, some sweet like shark teeth. Eating something.
Having a Mike Tyson style dinner.
Yeah. After talking it over at the Baron, he chucks out some of what he was eating at the mayor, and it turns out it was an ear.
Settle down, Van Gogh.
We get confirmation here that the Baron is actually eating flesh. He talks about how he only cares that he wants to conquer humans and like basically like have their skulls crushing under like the hooves of his horses.
And the mayor, being the coward he is, says, "I'll give you double the amount of prisoners and gold from now on."
Exactly.
So double the people and double the gold.
Trying to cover his own hide again.
Freshness, double the fun.
Not double the fun for those people, Johnny.
That's not a good saying for them. Man, I just love that image too, and that's him like
Yeah.
talking smack, like you were just saying, like, oh, I just want to hear skulls crushing under hooves.
Hmm.
Like, look how creepy
Seems
and
seems
weird
like a
it is.
nice
I
guy.
love
Yeah.
that art.
And then the next splash page too is of like his face like faded over his sweet like Dracula castle.
And don't, like, I gotta say, man, like, in my younger days, the idea of like black and white didn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
But like,
but
if
yeah,
this was
that's
in color, I don't think it would have the same
yeah. I was gonna
effect,
say like
man. Like,
he
it wouldn't.
he perfectly makes use of it, and yeah, like there's nothing like nothing cooler than some of those shots that are on there. So
Yeah, and then we see Guts here.
yeah, cut to Guts
Really?
back in prison. Beaten up, tortured. But
Cuts to Guts covered in cuts. That's what just happened.
that's what it's in the manga. We can't make it up. There
Cuts
is
to Guts covered in cuts.
exactly.
There he is.
Um,
And this is our first little. You see in the background,
Yeah.
there's this weird little thing there. And it's the first time we get introduced to that little guy.
I don't like that little guy, Johnny. I don't know
No,
how
that
to
little
tell you.
guy's freaking weird. And I'll show you
Not
a
a
little
fan.
close up.
Yeah,
Oh
it's-
god, it is so like. See, this is the like when I was reading Uzumaki, I'm like, this is the stuff that I. Felt
Yeah,
like
yeah, because I was gonna say
connected.
like all my notes say is we see Guts have a hallucination of a weird fleshy baby monster, and
It's like a
as even though it
fetus.
does sound weird, and that's could be kind of evocative. Like the benefit of having the book here is to show off like, man, just how weird it looks. Like the one eye that's open, like the weird like.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that monster, but it seems like it was just a hallucination because when he turns back, it's no longer there. Instead,
What I've gathered is I think it's like a premonition when the spirits are.
I was gonna say,
coming.
yeah. We later find another character that looks quite a bit like that, so it seems to be like some weird herald of that, or maybe like a hallucination of that character. But yeah, it's quickly vanishes, and in its place, we find Puck, who is back and visiting Guts in prison. And it's there to try and help out and heal Guts, using again like the weird elven magic that he has.
There, your pixie dust. That was
Exactly.
that's what made me think of Tank. Yeah, and he throws it. He throws Guts the keys to the place, which made me think of in the movie The Mask when the dog comes and gets Jim Carrey the keys. It's like the keys, not the cheese. That's what I thought.
Man, I would have never pulled that one out.
No, I mean, come on, look at it. He's
There it
in the
is.
water.
There's
I
the
love
keys.
that line too when he like Puck goes into the water and he's like, "Wait, this water is a little yellow. Don't tell me
yeah.
it's." I think it's in this
Womp
scene.
womp. Yeah, that's the thing is Puck
Yeah.
is definitely there as kind of a comedic foil to
Yeah, hey, this water's kind of yellow. Don't tell me it's. I had the quote down right.
exactly. Puck is usually there as kind of like a comedic release for some of this stuff. Usually in like a weird kind of like chibi form, like very kind of anime and like emotional with like the faces.
Yeah, like there's like a standard Puck image.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
normal Puck. And yeah, like, what was I just gonna say about Puck? Oh, that he's not. That he is the comedic relief, but he's not in the anime. So when I was reading this for the first time, it was a little weird to all of a sudden have this comedic relief. But like, if it wasn't there,
Yeah.
I think this would be a little. And this is like from somebody who really enjoys it and enjoys the darkness of it.
Yeah.
I almost think it'd be a little too like
like
disturbing to
yeah.
just keep reading. It's a necessary comedic.
Yeah. Normally I'm not a fan of like straight comedic characters, but Puck I think is a good mix because he's like silly at times and zany, but also like almost the audience insert in some ways because he's trying to reason with Guts and get him to do the right thing and like ask why is he such like a hard ass, like why is he so mean to certain characters. So it's they play well off one another, I think so.
Agreed.
And then this is also where we first kind of see, we had mentioned it, the brand that Guts has on his neck.
Which is the same thing that's engraved here.
Oh, interesting.
What?
I'm just saying things are coming into play here.
That's
Oh, also forgot to mention Guts only has one eye. That image there reminded
Yeah,
me.
that's where it's like the most prominent, but he only has one eye.
Yeah, because I remember when I first saw that page too. I was like, wait, did he like? Is this just a stylistic thing? But I'm like, oh, that's right. No, he's missing an eye.
Yeah, I wonder how.
I'd love to find out. How did he lose that hand? Why does he have like a metal hand that has like a cannon in it? I guess we'll never know. If only there was 37 more volumes of this.
That's right.
But yeah, Guts is given the keys. He mentioned that he plans to kill the Baron. So Guts takes the keys and gets out. Puck leaves, although on his way out, he sees the Baron and his knights are invading the town and kind of killing and just ravaging the village people.
Yeah, which is that there, and right before that though, we see this the first time like the brand starts bleeding, and he says he like wipes the blood, and he starts laughing. Oh, I love that when he gets all maniacal, and he's ha ha ha, I've been waiting for you, which is again like it's like the warning sign that the demon is close and coming for him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, here's another one of those fantastic splash pages.
Yeah, no
dialogue.
Hell yeah, some cool knights riding into town.
And again, like having to pan over it like this across the screen, it doesn't do the same justice as me like staring at the whole image right here. This is the first book we've read where I give it a straight 10 out of 10. Everything.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Story, artwork, characters, build of the book, presentation, everything.
Big swords, 10 out of 10.
Huge swords, biggest swords.
I mean, they are the biggest swords we've ever read so far. So.
Oh, and this is where like the very next page. I forgot about this. Like this is how grotesque and disgusting Kentaro Muro gets. The Baron rides in. That's the first time you see him in battle. Look, he like plows through this child with his spear and then holds the kid up and then drains the blood into his mouth. Like that's very vile.
Yeah, I thought cutting back to Uzumaki review last week, there were a few times where like some innocent people got it pretty bad, but like in this one, like nobody's safe. Like women, children. It's nobody's having a good time.
Which like I think we talked about this on camera, not off, but either way, for me, for a story to have real like depth and like be able to hit me, like there's got to be consequence and depth.
Yeah.
And when something's this realistic in the sense that people are dying left and right and like. That gives it a lot more value to me. Mm-hmm. So, like, I really dig that about storytelling. Even though I'm not a morbid person, I do think that death in storytelling is, like, a key element that has to be there.
And if nothing else...
How good would have Avengers Endgame been if nobody died?
Exactly,
Star Wars be if nobody died? You have to have people die for it to actually hit home.
Yeah, and it puts in perspective, like, the world that they're living in, and also, kind of, like, the depths of evil of some of these characters. Yeah, like, we'd found out that this guy was, like eating people, as basically tribute from the town, and now here he is riding in, like invading, like he's, just somebody trying to take down and burn the town.
And then the next to turn the page over, and Guts is like he just
hiding under a pile of bodies.
I love this dude down here with his googly eye. He's got one. I'm pointing to him, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there it is. There's the googly eye.
Googly.
And then. So here's one of the scenes where it's like, in my notes, it's literally like one line of notes that I have here, but it definitely spans like 20 pages or something like that of like, because we get into a combat scene where Guts is fighting the knights, and eventually is fighting the Baron himself, at which point, one, again, that sweet snake helmet, but we kind of see some of the significance of that later on in the fight when he's kind of bested the Baron, but he comes, he's like knocked into a castle, right into a room, but he reemerges. A huge snake tail, like, flies out of the doorway, knocking into Guts, and then we reveal that there's kind of more to the Baron than we initially thought.
Dude, this is like, God, I always think, or ever since, not always, like whenever I'm reading this, these demons that Kentaro Miura draws, I'm like, what is going on in your mind that you turned this into paper? Because it's like disturbing. So like, you see the Baron start to emerge there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The set of eyes, and then a human face under those eyes,
and then you see he's got the snake thing, kind of, but then actually, what really, it's like, what? But like, okay, from there it's like, okay, that's pretty gross and weird. But when you close up, like his face is in the mouth,
in there, exactly.
And Kentaro Miura does that with a lot of faces, like that, like a face comes out of a face, and we'll see it as we go on. But that's really disturbing. Like the close up there, like it's so weird.
and also like cutting back to like me talking about like like playing video games based off it. It's easy to see in this world where like a lot of people would get inspiration off of some of these creatures, and like it would make like, oh, that would make for a great boss fight. Oh wait, it did, because they made a Berserk video game, and among like other video games that like steal from some of this look, like there's a lot of creativity to the world that he's building here, and especially the demons, like even at the first one out the gate of like just these surprise demons out of nowhere. So
some more shots of
Exactly. So he continues to fight the now snake demon Baron. You know,
beating the crap out of Guts.
but you know, Guts he's no chump himself, and eventually cannon shots the Baron's head, and then also using his huge sword like chops half of the guy's head off too.
Yeah, so he kind of actually he plays the Baron for. I think he's getting his ass kicked on purpose here, even though he's getting the crap beat out of him. Because then the Baron picks him up and says that he's nothing but food, and he pulls the old stick the arm in their mouth
exactly,
and blow their head off.
So far, he's 2 for 2 against that with demons. Yeah.
So there's his hands just dangling. He's talking smack, and then he grabs him by the lower jaw. And
exactly.
He's like,
we've seen this move before. Yeah.
But here we get to actually see it in action, which is why I think they didn't show it the first time.
Exactly.
Because then you see it. Oh man, look at that.
See ya, Baron.
Just blew his freaking head off. Oh my god. So he's on fire, and then like you said, Guts comes back. Oh my god!
Just to make sure that he's gone.
Sword.
Yep.
That's right through him. And there it is again with the huge blood splatter, like the lines, the sword swinging. Man, I'm only allowed one F-bomb. I can't do it.
Almost. You got to save it to the end.
That's right. And I know again it's harder to see on the screen, but just all this fantastic artwork. Every page is just mind blowing.
But yeah, not as the snake Baron is slowly dying, we kind of learn more about some of the brand of sacrifice. We hear about 5 members of the God Hand. The Baron refers to himself as an apostle, and Guts is asking like, where's the God Hand? And the Baron mentions that it's not for an apostle to know, and that's kind of the cliffhanger that we're left on at the end of the first book.
And the other cool thing here, or important thing, is like this dude's just got burned and half his head chopped off, and he's not dead. And basically, once you've been like demonized like this, you can't actually die. So Guts just tortures the dude. He's burning him alive.
Yeah.
He continuously shoots arrows into his head, starts chopping him up even more, and then just leaves him to burn to ashes.
Exactly. Yeah. So we see the violence of Guts, and it is kind of thank God he's on our side kind of thing of, if this is, a mortal man going up against these basically immortal demons, it's a rough fight. So that's the end of the first chapter of the first book. Next we go to the Brand. And we've got Guts and Puck kind of in a forest on the outskirts of town.
A few more of those like pastel pages.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like there's...
So beautiful.
Guts is... are we saying... Puck is beautiful?
Yeah, he or she can be as beautiful as he or she wants.
Yeah.
Or handsome.
Whichever.
And then assuming whose gender.
We've got Guts and Puck again in the forest. They've gone their separate ways. It begins to rain, and Guts finds a wagon that kind of comes by him and offers to give him a ride because of the hard rain. And we find out that the one driving the wagon is a priest. So, he sees a man in need of help. He stops alongside him at the road and offers him a ride. At first, Guts is kind of reluctant to it. He says he's not a fan of priests. And he's got some evil spirits chasing him. But he kind of reluctantly accepts and takes up some shelter inside the wagon.
Yeah, well, why not? What do I care if something happens to them? And then he kind of looks back and sees all these like eyes in the forest. Like, well.
It's like, some weird stuff going on.
Yeah, the dude. That's the Colette chick we were talking about in the beginning.
Yep. Yeah.
She's
So
right so it's this priest and his granddaughter, I believe.
I think it's just his daughter. Yeah.
Okay,
don't go putting those evil. Don't go scaring my daughter. He mentions later.
Yeah, you're right.
His daughter.
Hey, don't frighten my daughter.
Yeah, right his daughter Colette is there to kind of. She's helping accommodate Guts. She's offering drink and food and all that.
Wine. It's wine country.
Yeah, that's true. It's wine. Yeah, like homemade wine. The priest mentions that Guts looks like a mercenary. Yeah, with the sword like that. He jokingly says that he's just a chef. And then also Puck is also in this wagon. They took Puck along as a lucky spirit, I believe that they said they thought he was. So
yeah, they picked up Puck first.
Yeah, so they've kind of reunited on the wagon here.
Shagged wagon.
Later on, Guts tries to nap on this wagon, but is given quite a nightmare. Again, we see the evil.
Yeah, so there he is dozing off there at the top. And then here's the evil Mike's about to.
Yeah, that evil weird like blobby baby that we get to see again. Yeah, like it's I definitely
I
like
think this one's different.
it was a cool transition. No, it's the same. He's got like the one eye and that like weird like mouth thingy.
No, it's different, dude. That's the one he sees in the dream.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So he has another dream, but then yeah, that's.
And that thing, yeah. It's at this, but then he wakes up.
Yeah, he's really awoken.
A different one that
yeah.
Yeah.
A different evil demon that's kind of attached to him that was like physically causing the nightmare.
Blames it.
Yeah, he called it's an incubus.
Yeah, it's an incubus. You have it written down.
No, I said that as the notes.
Yeah, he says the little girl goes, "What is that thing? It's an incubus. They're evil spirits that give people nightmares and feed off fear." Also, a pretty okay band from the 90s.
Well, an incubus, I'm sure if you're familiar with the succubus that was basically the demon at the beginning, the first chapter. Usually like a female demon.
Yes.
The thing is, they're usually like attractive and they use like, their guile to like have sex with a victim and like drain them of their power that way. An incubus is the male version of that, normally.
I did not know that.
But this is, like we kind of see a different version, which is an incubus as like that weird like squid that is, like causing nightmares for Guts. But he also mentions that they usually come from nearby corpses. So Guts kind of steps out from the wagon there to kind of look around.
Yeah, because Puck asks why I came after him, and he reveals because of this and points to the brand and says it summons them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so he meant that
that
there were to be bodies nearby, so he steps out to check it. The daughter starts stepping out, to which Guts says, like, hey, get back in the cart. But I'm afraid it's too late at that point.
Yeah. Stupid girl, don't get out of the carriage. Boom.
Yep. Run through by a spear of a skeleton.
Yep. Right out of the ground.
There it is. Look at all those skeletons. Colette. And here we are back to the start.
I love that. Look at it. The eyes look so illuminated.
I'm a huge fan of the way in which they, such a, again, like video game enemy, like a skeleton is like very much like a generic bad guy, but the way in which they draw like the skeletons here is really cool, really intimidating. There's a whole battlefield's worth of of dead bodies here that has created this skeleton army that have now risen and are attacking Guts. And again, like here we see quite a few pages of Guts fighting the army, like chopping dudes in half, firing bolts at them. Yeah, like one swipe and like 5 skeletons are getting like knocked away, cut in two. So, we get to see a lot more of Guts' fighting prowess. But during the battle, Colette seems to be possessed because we cut to her in the wagon holding the beheaded head of her father. I don't know if you got to
got to it. Yeah, because Puck calls out and Guts is like, I'm busy, and then we see the head and the dripping blood, and we turn the page. Also, like, he really plans this out well. I mean, most comics do.
Sure.
But like, almost every page is like a reveal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like much in the way that like Uzumaki, I feel like if we're talking about like formulaic, it would like end on like at the bottom left of the page is like somebody turning, or like we get a hint of what's to come. So then the second you turn the page, which I'm a big fan of because I've kind of got ADHD, so like usually I'm like already kind of like noticing even unintentionally like what's going on in the next page. So like the fact that they hide it behind another page, I'm a fan of that. So
I agree. So yeah, then we open up and boom, she's standing there with a hole in her body, holding the head.
Yep.
Guts sees it.
Yeah, she just kind of like casually approaches him on the battlefield and like sticks a knife in his gut. He's kind of entranced. He sees the daughter as she once was, and but he gets stabbed, and that kind of knocks him out of it, and he cuts her in two, as all other enemies, because at this point she's too far gone. She's just a possessed corpse at this point.
To say she's dead already.
Yeah, exactly. So he cuts her in two.
And then he finishes off the.
He finishes off the skeletons. Here. Yeah, it's full splash page of just
I feel like
going to
I'm
town.
looking at the screen, like it probably looks like it's all cluttered, but like in person, it's not. Like, you
get to see every individual skeleton.
Every detail. Yeah, I can literally count this dude's ribs.
You can't see the skeletons for the horde. But after the fight, he finishes them off, and we get to see kind of more of the interaction between Puck and Guts. But we see kind of the asshole that Guts is to some degree,
Oh
because
yeah.
he's laughing. He's like talking about like how with the priest and the daughter, like that they basically died because they were weak. Like they didn't deserve to live if they couldn't, handle this life. Definitely an anti-hero at best, Guts. So.
But also, in his defense, we don't know what's gotten him to this point.
Yeah,
why
yeah,
he
he's
that
had a
way.
troubled past, I'm
Maybe
sure,
it's a
but
defense mechanism
exactly.
of some type. I don't know. I've never read this. Oh wait, I already told you guys I did. Shoot, I'm caught in the web of lies.
And then yeah, that's basically the end of that chapter, and they kind of continue on their journey.
Yeah, and the one last thing I'll point out is while he's walking away towards the end, like out of the forest, there's like a bunch of voices saying that you can't escape us as long as you have the brand.
Kind of more haunted by the spirits.
You belong to us, your flesh, your ears, your eyes, and a mouth and a nose. All of it belongs to them. We don't know who they are.
We don't know who they are, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough.
So yeah, end of the chapter, and then we get some more of these dark pastel pages.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a cool scene, this one.
Oh yeah, it is.
So the next chapter, it's Guardians of Desire, Part 1. And we see the mayor kind of in the town square upon a gallows reading out a verdict of guilty for heresy. We get talk of an inquisition, and this lady that's got her head on the literal chopping block is going to be executed for her heresy, to which she denies it. But usually in situations like this, if you're in an inquisition being accused of heresy, saying that you're not a heretic probably isn't going to do anything. So she gets
this creepy
exactly
dude. Who's like the Lord.
The Count.
The Count.
Yeah. Again, here, a good thing we've got the image here, because all I had written in the notes was a gross slug blob that looks kind of if you saw our last video about Uzumaki, he kind of is in line with one of like the slug demons or the slug monsters to some degree. He's just like this,
people.
Yeah, he's just some weird.
That was the first night I ate the meat of a snail person. That line is now.
It's so good. Yeah, I know. I keep thinking about that every so often too. But yeah, the great, the detailed like charcoal type drawings at the start here. Yet Guts picks up her head, kind of marks the brand of sacrifice on her head and chucks it at the Count.
Yeah, which he catches. So good play, good mitts. I'll give him that.
Exactly.
See the replay on ESPN later tonight. Top 3 plays of the day.
Yeah, he catches it out of the sky and crushes it. Which again was kind of
that's an awesome.
Yeah, that was rough, and laughs, and then he mentions he takes it as a declaration of war from the Black Swordsman. Oh man, this poor lady again probably did nothing wrong, as we'll find out later. This Inquisition is a sham at best, and much like the Salem witch trials to some degree, was probably just accused of it, and an innocent person died. And man, getting beheaded and then, getting her skull crushed. What a... Johnny, why can't we read happy comics anymore?
Maybe we should after this, actually. That's
exactly, yeah.
Keep in mind,
yeah. The one that I'm going to probably suggest, we'll put it up to a vote at the end of this, involves, it involves a puppy, a cat, and a rabbit. I'm surely nothing bad could happen there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he takes it as declaration of war, and Guts, leaves the town square, is stopped by guards.
Yeah, I'm gonna point out this too in the background here. As he's running away, we see this dude in the background who we don't know, and that's the first time we see him. But he plays a role later. But that's our first. We just see him in the background.
Keep an eye out on that weird vagrant looking.
But just one. I'll tell you why that's funny.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll come to me eventually. But yeah, as he's kind of like making his way through the town, he's stopped by more knights. Again, I've got shorthand here for like 5 pages that pass. I just have a fight ensues.
Yeah, I love this. He's like, if you resist, your life will be forfeit, and then you turn the page and Guts is just slicing form in half.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your life. Yeah, and you're right. It's just
Yeah, he's kind of ambushed by guards. Yeah, again, sweet shot of Guts there. Archers take aim at him, but Puck comes in to help and like basically blinds them using some more magic.
Solar flare.
Exactly. Yeah, just turns on the brightness to 10 and distracts them. And then we see a large knight kind of come out with the warhammer and some really sweet armor.
Yeah,
I love like the face armor, the helmet that he's got on.
Yeah.
Like molded to a face there. Lord Zondark.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking too? Not a single person in this entire book has a normal name except for Colette.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not wrong.
The Puck is kind of normal. If you've read Midsummer Night's Dream.
How many people do you know named Puck? I know 2 Colettes.
I know. Okay, I definitely in high school may or may not have taken a Shakespeare English class, so I'm familiar with Puck. But yeah, I guess Colette's probably the only one. I like Vargas though. We'll get into Vargas just shortly, but that's a cool name.
Vargas is a last name that you call somebody by as their name. Oh, this is my friend Carlos Vargas. I'm just calling him Vargas.
Or his first name is Vargas, and you call him Vargas.
Who's?
We'll find a friendly physician named Vargas later on. But first, here we are with Lord Zondark with his huge warhammer. This guy towers over Guts to some degree with a weapon almost to match his slab of iron sword. They fight for a bit, and Guts wounds Zondark by kind of like crushing in his helmet, like the shrapnel goes into his face, into his eyes. He's like wounded. Yeah, pretty rough there.
Yeah, that's an awesome.
I'm sure he'll be okay. And then before the fight is over, a smoke bomb is kind of rolled into the middle of the fray. A man from like the sewer kind of yells out to Guts, saying, "Come on in here. We'll get away this way. We'll escape." And Guts and Puck escape and are taken by this bandaged man to a physician's house. And
he was the little dude in the street that we saw like a page ago that we pointed out.
Yep, we don't get his name yet, but he mentions that how he knew the Count. He used to work for the Count, and the Count ate his face and his legs, that's pretty rough. When we see like why he was all bandaged up.
With one eye, that was the whole.
Exactly. Oh, now it makes sense.
I guess you have one eye and blink.
Now I'm laughing. Is it a blink or a wink? And then the chapter more or less kind of ends when this guy shows off. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, poor Vargas. I feel bad for him.
I agree. Actually, I did give some sympathy to Vargas. When you find out his backstory, it's messed up.
Yeah. Although, cut to like the second to last volume or chapter in this book, he kind of gets some revenge. But we end here with this unnamed disfigured man showing Guts a behelit. I'm sure we're probably gonna butcher this one. I don't know how it's actually pronounced. Behelit.
I always call it a pellet.
Do they mention it in the manga or the anime?
Yeah, and actually I was gonna say I was watching it last week and they said it and I was like, oh, I've been saying it slightly wrong. I'll watch it again and let you know because I can't remember right now.
Sure. Yeah, the behelit. Yeah.
He's like he says that he has something he wants to show him, and Guts is like, what? And he shows him, and it's this something right here.
Yeah. Again, I've written it down as
the egg with a face.
Exactly. Yeah, I have it written down as a Picasso-looking egg, with nose, eyes, and mouth all over the place. But Guts seems to be intrigued by this item.
Yeah, and that officially ends book 1.
Yeah.
This one is 3 books.
Yep, exactly. Which is a pretty interesting cliffhanger because hey, here's this weird artifact. Looks crazy as hell, but Guts seems to be very intent on learning more about it, or you're telling him what he knows about it.
Yes, you start off the next chapter, and it picks up right there with the charcoal pages.
Hell yeah!
Basically, a reversal of this same image from the last page, about
there you go.
And then he grabs Vargas, and he's choking him, and he's like, "Where the hell did you get this?"
Yeah, and Vargas reveals that he got it from the Count's castle. He says the Count has changed. He's basically began to 7 years ago. He started to torture, violate, and eat bodies. He mentions that's he ate Vargas's limbs and then his wife and his sons.
Yeah.
and he says how he has that image kind of burned into his mind, and we get to have that burned into our mind too, because we actually get to kind of see it.
Yeah, 7 years ago, after getting hold of this thing referring to the Behelit, the count changed, and then you got the image of the count like with a bunch of bodies hanging. They're all deformed and cut apart, and then you turn the page and you got Vargas there when he was getting tortured and chopped up. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There he is. And then on the next page there, you see just in the shadows the count eating limbs. And then it's so hard to see in the video, but in person you can. Like, there's like an operating table here with like an upper body on it that's sliced open. And, here's the other. Oh, God.
Yeah. It's like we get to see like his weird, like, toad sluggish form, his demonic form. And Vargas mentions that he was able to escape 7 years ago, that he studied the Behelits, the cult religion, kind of to no avail. He was like trying to find out what this item was. He didn't really figure it out, but Guts easily reveals that it's a key. It summons demons, specifically the 5 members of the God Hand. Thank you. What's up, Charlie in the chat here? Says, yeah, our favorite Johnny's.
Chuck!
I don't know if you just joined late or what, but he says that count's got a big mouth. Yeah, he's got a lot of weird stuff going on. That as we go on, we'll see his weird transformation.
I'm just gonna say what he does to this dude, and it's literally the next page.
Yeah,
his face got Lord Zondark.
It's no good. Yeah.
Can I tell Chuck something real quick?
Sure.
Yo, dude, today I had to get a repair done on my car, and I went over there, and the mechanic I go to, he's an Asian guy, and last time I was there, we were talking about parts to order, and he's like, oh, we should get the Japanese parts, they're better. And so I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, I don't know if he's Japanese or not. So when I went in today, I was like, hey, Mike, I'm like, by the way, are you Japanese? And he's like, oh, no, I'm Korean. He's like, why do you ask? And I was like, oh, because I watch a lot of anime, and I was just wondering if when you were a kid, if you did. And he like perked up, and he's like a 40-year-old dude, and he's like, Japanimation? He's like, I loved Japanimation as a kid. And I'm like, really? I'm like, did you ever watch Neon Genesis Evangelion? And he's like, no, I didn't watch that one. And I'm like, how about Dragon Ball? And he's like, you like Dragon Ball? He's like, I love that. When I was a kid, that was like 20 years ago. I'm like, oh no, dude, like I still love it. I'm like, at the shop I work at, I got buddies who love it, and so I was able to connect with this dude over Dragon Ball. So I thought I'd share that with you.
Probably got like $100 off the part right then and there for being a fan.
Actually, he gave me a deal. I don't think it was. Maybe it was because of that. He gave me a deal. Yeah. I mean, I paid cash instead of card, and so he was able to hook it up a little bit. But yeah, he was a cool dude, and that ended up coming up. So
hell yeah, anime brings the world together. Apparently,
yeah, I thought it was worth bringing up. So I
even though my pin says anime was a mistake, apparently it's exactly. Yeah, and then he gave you a heavy discount, says Charlie.
Yeah, see, Dragon Ball, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Granted my wish. Thank you, Shenron.
There you go. There go the 7 Dragon Balls back to the corners of the earth, I guess, or whatever happens to them when they're done. They just expire. I was gonna say, yeah, I know. They just kind of like, there it is. One of the 7 right there.
Right.
But yes,
hey, Chuck, welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for coming out, Charlie. And yeah, next we've got cut to Lord Zondark, kind of heavily bandaged in like the infirmary of the castle, and he's kind of he's injured and in a frenzy. He's like lashing out. He's attacking the people trying to help him.
This is subtle. Yeah, I love this because I actually remembered this. He like grabs this doctor by the face, and then the next panel, it's like totally not even mentioned.
Yeah, just casually. Yeah, like crushes his head. Yeah, like there's just the one sound effect there that says like crack or whatever. You're like, it's like, oh, that poor guy.
Goosh.
There you go.
Gah. Yeah, so he's freaking out, and then who should show up but the Count? He's a creepy egg-looking dude.
Yeah.
And he has everybody leave.
Exactly. Yeah, he tells everybody to leave the room. He's just going to speak to Zondark on his own. But
and I thought this was kind of telling. This little Count dude grabs this big dude by the neck and just stops him.
Exactly.
Like, dead in his tracks. And the dude says, he's like, you despise him. You despise the Black Swordsman? Yes, I would do anything to kill him. He says, very well, I will grant you your wish. And it's so gross, man, right there. Very well, grant your wish. Starts opening his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And this thing starts crawling out.
Yep.
And
My Damon. Ugh.
It starts crawling into
Zondark's mouth.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of wishes getting granted, my wish is granted because here we have Raidami saying, Mr. Johnny and Mike, back at it again. Hello. What's up,
Tuesday
Raidami?
and Wednesday.
Exactly, yeah. Always at it. Here talking about Berserk, if you've joined late. There it is, in definitely the best way to get
glory.
it in the Dark Horse collected deluxe editions. And yeah. We've got Zondark basically taking that slug demon to get his revenge on Guts, and then we're back to Guts and Puck talking in Vargas's home. We get more kind of backstory, but they're kind of pretty quickly interrupted by. That's actually kind of what I thought too. Charlie mentions he looks like the caterpillar from A Bug's Life. He says, what's his name? Heimlich. That does sound familiar too. But yeah, he does have that kind of weird, like, sluggy, gross look.
Was it Bug's Life? The one that had the Who song in the commercial for it? Baba O'Reilly. Out here in the fields. Or was that Ants? It was one of the two. I think it was A Bug's Life, and now I have that song stuck in my head because of you. Thanks, Charlie. Now I'm going to listen to Who on the way home. John Lynch was one of the best bass players ever, by the way.
I'll take your word for it.
I'm right. But yeah, they're sitting here talking about the. Well, Vargas is really asking him at this point to kill the Count for him, and he's
right,
like, "Please, like have my revenge." What did Raidami say?
Oh, I was gonna say he says it was A Bug's Life.
Hell yeah!
Thanks,
see,
thanks
you remember, dude?
Yeah,
yes, in the previews. My man, you think I'm crazy, and then Adami comes in, and he's like, Johnny's so insane.
To be fair, I think that you're crazy for other reasons.
That is a fair observation, totally. 100% accurate.
But yeah, we've got, the Vargas is talking about how he kind of wants revenge on the Count after basically everything that he's done. You know, he's disfigured him, he's killed his wife and children, he's had him, like, live in hiding for 7 years at this point.
And I like this line because, like, after he says all that stuff, Guts is basically like, "I'm not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
You're a disgusting, morbid little creature.
You're weak. You're ugly. Yeah."
And Puck's like, "You can't say that." And then the dude, I think this is so sad. He's like, "If only you kill the Count, I don't care what you say about me."
Yeah.
And then Guts is like, "You spineless bastard," which is brutal.
Don't talk about Vargas like that.
Yeah, but you just feel for this dude. And then, like, mid-conversation as that happens, who should come and knock in?
Kool-Aid Man style, just busting down the wall.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now who's making pop culture references? That was awesome.
It's Zondark, baby.
It's Zondark.
He's back. And this time he's sluggier than ever. He's got a halberd this time, chopping up the wall, trying to beat up Guts. And during the fight, Guts is able to chop off one of Zondark's arms, which was pretty cool. But this time, he's not just here to lose a limb. He does lose the arm, but it quickly regrows as like a fleshy tentacle. Yeah, and he, like, right before this, Guts has the realization. He says, "Oh, you're not human anymore." Yeah. And there's the. And here's the confirmation. Yeah, exactly. That whatever daemon that the Count gave him has bestowed with him some weird powers of growing out, that long tentacle, and now he's just whipping it around at inhuman speeds, just like trashing the house that they're in, knocking over tables, threatening Guts and Puck and Vargas. Although Guts is still able to, like, block every attack. And even land one of his own, this time, like, chopping off a part of Zondark's head. Yeah, and the line is said here where Vargas and Puck are reiterating what you just said, that he's swinging it so fast that, like, they can't even keep up with it. And then Puck's like, "Yeah, but look, Guts is blocking every one of them. Mm-hmm. Like, not only can he see them, he can keep up with them." Yeah, he's anticipating it, Yeah, and, here's him chopping off that slice of head. Mm-hmm. He knocks off it. Kind of splitting headache. It regrows like a second like head, like the weird, like oh god, yeah, that weird. So here's your Bugs Life. He's kind of laughing. He's boom. There's your Bugs Life right there, fellas.
Out here in the fields, I fight for my meals.
I'm sure we're getting part of the video muted because of all the infringement that's
Basically,
happening.
I'm keeping them little segments, so there's not enough time.
But it's so spot on though that the algorithm is going to take it as you know. Do we have the Who playing on in the background?
Right. Thanks.
Real quick here from YouTube now. It's it's Baby Yoda got a problem with Twitch. It says the stream has ended. That's weird. Because I'm getting messages from people in Twitch and Facebook. So
you guys still twitching?
Always twitching. ABT, exactly. Yeah, Twitch. Especially after the So yeah, I apologize for the weird technical difficulties. We are still going on Facebook and Twitch, but you know, I apologize. I'm not sure why I would say that we're not. But yeah, back to it. Now we've got where was it? He chops off part of his head, and then this time. Oh, real quick, Raidami says, sorry, I got to go. It's 11 in New York. He says, sleepy, and I'll see you next time, guys.
Wait, Raidami, next time we're talking pizza, and don't forget it.
All right, yeah, Raidami, yeah. Next Tuesday or Wednesday, come back in, tell us about pizza, and we're going to apparently get into it.
Yeah, we're getting Pizza Tuesday, and you and I can talk. We can, like, smack talk each other for fun.
Oh, no. Now Baby Yoda, every 5 seconds, is repeating that message. What have we done? But yeah, sorry, Raidami, that you got to head on out. Yeah, we'll talk to you next time. And yeah, have a good one, man. Thanks for always stopping by and chatting with us. But yeah, speaking of stopping by, Zondark stopped by, and then there's not much that they could do. So all that's left is for them to, as the house is burning down, they kind of escape out the back.
Yeah, and during the fight, the Behelit gets knocked down, and Vargas sees it, and he's able to snag it. That's kind of important. And while he's doing that, Matt Damon.
The demon
of the Count notices Vargas, and he talks to him. He's like, "Hey, long time no see, Vargas."
Yeah.
And that's just
that's unsettling. Creepy.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like the house burning down finally, and it's like falling on Zondark,
and yeah, then they they part ways with Vargas. Guts says as payment he'll take the Behelit, something.
Yeah.
And they kind of part ways, but not before we find Vargas getting caught by Zondark, who is apparently still alive in the sewers.
Yeah. And there he is saying goodbye to Puck,
yep.
And then he's walking away. And
this little tentacle coming out of the sewer. Oh no! I hope
Vargas is okay. And he isn't. He totally gets sucked in.
He gets snagged. Yeah. We get more character development then with Guts and Puck. Yet again, they have a falling out. They always seem to be kind of at odds with ideology and kind of what they should have done in certain situations. So they kind of fall out and go their separate ways again.
Yeah.
And later.
No, they're just fighting. They don't go their separate ways.
Oh, they don't. Okay, yeah.
No, because while they're fighting, they walk by and hear people talking about an execution. So maybe they depart in a second, but not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we've got a public execution here, and this time it's for my boy Vargas.
Yeah. But you see him while Guts is like sitting there thinking about it. This is where, so yeah, they know Vargas is going to get killed, and Puck is like, why don't you go help him? And he's like, no, it's not my job. And he gets all pissed and goes away. But then you have this like kind of tender moment. There's Puck flying away. And there's Guts taking his arm off and staring at the nub for the first time. And there's there's nothing really said, but you're kind of like, there's that look there where he's just looking down on it. And I thought that was a powerful thing. And then he starts thinking about Vargas and how he sliced his face. And you see he's thinking and he's touching his eye.
Yeah.
And he's just
Yeah,
connecting
it's a deep moment for Guts, one that we haven't really had too many of.
Yeah, and then he has this memory of him saying "Avenge me," and I don't know. That's all powerful because now for the first time you're thinking like, what's the connection there? No, he doesn't have an eye, and he's missing this arm, but now he's noticing that Vargas went through something, and he's kind of connecting it somehow, and so just something to keep in mind for later. But there's not a lot of those tender Guts moments.
Exactly, yeah. Like that's the thing is there's not a lot where we get to see kind of the softer side of Guts, not just him calling everybody weak and laughing at their death, basically. But yeah, so we have the public execution of Vargas. Guts is kind of watching. Puck is saying how he wants to intervene, but Guts doesn't really want to get involved with it. And in fact, he's saying that if Puck wants to intervene, basically, why don't you do it yourself?
Yep.
Charlie, with the astute observation here, says, "I hope it doesn't make him go berserk."
It is lame that in like the first time he goes nuts in front of Puck, she does say, does say berserk.
Berserk, yeah, and it's literally like the last word of the first book or whatever, the first chapter. So it's kind of corny in that regard, but yeah, we'll find out, Charlie, what happens, because Guts tells Puck to do something, and Puck decides that he will, so he tries to distract the executioner by basically flying up to him, turning on the high beams, distracting them. But unfortunately, it doesn't really do too much. The execution still goes on. Yeah.
What's the next page here? Oh no.
Oh no.
I went too far. Yeah, there's Puck diving in, trying to do something. Doesn't really do much. Gets knocked off.
Mm-hmm.
And the Count says to go through with it anyway.
Yep, the execution still happens, with Vargas basically calling out to Guts, saying, hold up the Count's head before the crowd, basically, saying to avenge him and kill the Count.
Yeah, and there he is shouting that, and you see Guts, he's in the background, and he's got his face covered because he knows.
Yeah, he's just shouting out to the crowd for Guts to,
save him.
Mm-hmm. And Guts won't save him there, but...
Yeah, there's his head flying off. And Guts walks away.
Mm-hmm. Again, in the alleyway, this time he sees once more that weird demon fetus with the weird face, but then this time...
turns into...
Poor Vargas.
Yeah, and it starts saying, or he starts hearing the line, hold up the severed head before us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see... This is the first time we see this. There's the Count, looking on, but then looking on to him is this little girl from the castle. And you're like, who's that little girl?
Who's that little girl? Oh, I'm sure we'll find out eventually.
Yeah, they don't just put things in here to put them in. And then we got these two guys who are burying the bodies, and they got Vargas's body, and this jerk in the corner's holding his head, kind of commenting on it. And who should come out of the background there but our boy, the Black Swordsman. I love that panel.
Exactly. That quick, just staring the one eye. On there. It's.
And he makes this oath to Vargas's body, where he says, "The look in your eyes, filled with vengeance, I won't fail, like you."
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little bit insulting.
Yeah, it's kind of I made exactly.
Yeah.
I had it written down that there's a backhanded oath to swear revenge, not for him, but basically for himself, because the spirits of all those beheaded people that were at that mass grave that he visits, call out for vengeance, but he agrees to it, but not for them, but basically for himself, with his own flesh and blood, to take on that challenge.
I'll kill the Count with my very own flesh and blood.
And that's the end of that chapter, and here we have Guts in the Count's castle. He's kind of walking up this long staircase there, and then cut to it. We've got Puck being given as a gift to that familiar girl in the window.
Yeah, because when Puck tried to stop the execution, he got kidnapped because he didn't stop it, and then the Count was like, "Oh, good try, go through with it." And so Puck is in captivity. So, yeah, we have the Count approaching that little girl's room, like you said, giving Puck in a cage as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that the girl is his daughter.
Yep.
How do we find that out? Because she looks at him and says,
"Father." And then, "Oh, hi, Teresa." Exactly. So we find the Count's daughter, Teresa, and she accepts Puck as a gift, but kind of quickly recoils when her father tries to, just gently touch her on the arm. He's like, "Oh, you still won't let me touch you then." And she kind of screams a bit, and he leaves a little, distraught by that, His father, father and daughter, he won't even be able to, leave me to the mayor. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then we've got Guts ascending the stairs still, and he confronts Sandark once again. This time, again, sluggier and more demonic than ever.
Yep.
This isn't even his final form, Johnny.
There he is.
Oh, just a weird, mass of
Faces.
tentacles and spikes and all sorts of stuff. Again, my notes are like 2 lines, but this encompasses like 10 pages, 20 pages of an epic duel that they have.
It's so awesome. He's throwing arrows at it or shooting arrows
exactly,
at him.
Chopping off limbs. They're regrowing more.
I mean, it's just page after page of this non-stop badass artwork.
But finally, Guts does get the better of him by beheading, cutting off like the head of the demon that had sprouted out of his head. Basically the weak point. Yep, there you go. Got him.
Yeah, because Zondark stupidly tells him.
Yeah, he basically says like, "Here's my weak point." It's,
he's like, "You cutting off my limbs, but until you cut off my head." And Guts is like, "Got it."
Exactly. Oh.
But then I like this that the little head thing like attached to Guts' sword.
Yeah, and it kind of regrows. Yeah, like little.
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm gonna attack you now," and Guts
slams
smashes it into the wall, dude.
Yeah, I thought that was clever. Yeah, just like broadside slams it into that wall, crushing it once more.
And then the thing's still not dead, and he says, "I'll be waiting for you upstairs." That's so weird.
Yeah. And then we cut back to up top, Teresa and Puck, just kind of a bonding moment of them. They're kind of sharing the fact that, much like Tinkerbell, like both of them had spent time like in captivity in cages. Teresa talking about how ever since her mother died and her father was kind of going crazy by that, she's been trapped in her own room because her father won't let her out because of heretics. Doesn't want her to go into the outside world, so instead she's kind of just trapped in that.
Yeah, because the story that she's been told by her father was that these heretics kidnapped her mother and then sacrificed her. And here you can see these heretics found this big demon goat thing with a huge dong because Kentaro Miura drew the dong. I don't know why. Bruce Wayne. And there's the mother on the table being sacrificed alive. At least that's the story that she's told.
Yep. And that's we find out what happened
when they go on the show.
Exactly. Why would they lie about that?
But yeah, the father kind of went crazy after that. Kept her upstairs for 7 years.
And Puck.
They relate over the fact that Puck gets delivered in a cage.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's basically like, "Oh, you're stuck in a cage. I'm also stuck."
So they have a bonding moment, which is nice. And then we've got Guts. This time he's confronting the mayor, that elderly mayor of the town.
Yeah.
Once again, a fight scene happens. He takes out like a group of the guards. We see a new Knight Jericho, breaking down the walls of Jericho over here.
Oh, Y2J! Oh my God, dude! Countdown to Jericho. I can't believe that throwback you just threw into this. Wow. He just got injured recently. Did you see that?
No, I haven't really been keeping up. I know maybe if Charlie's still here, I know he kind of still watches or at least keeps up kind of with wrestling stuff. But I mean, with a name like Jericho, it's spelled a little bit differently. It's with a G instead of a J. But that's the first thing that I thought when I saw him, or when they refer to him. But yeah, he's bigger than Zondark. Supposed to be stronger. We find out that he's not stronger than Zondark, at least compared to Guts. So
yeah, because Guts slices right through him with that famous Guts.
Exactly. Yeah, as he is wont to do. If there is a body that's in one piece, he'll make sure that it's in two by the end of it.
You know what I'm thinking? The more and more I'm like noticing him swinging this sword around, is it I kind of want to Happy Gilmore him and stick a golf club in his hand and be like, what can you do with that type of swing in this sport?
Yeah.
You think he would have, or maybe baseball, you'd have a vicious swing.
I was going to say, baseball seems like the easy comparison, but sure.
Actually, you're right,
let's take it to golf and see what
stick
happens.
Him with a baseball bat and see what he can do.
Guts versus
Pretend that ball's a demon head.
Probably
Boom!
Is, yeah.
Grand slam with only 2 runners on. That's how far he hit it. They said run the bases twice, kid.
Is that how baseball works?
When Guts is swinging, you're damn right it is.
But yeah, again, Guts handles that group of knights and guards. Puck escapes the room, but promises that he'll come back for Teresa. And then Guts finally confronts the Count in his throne room.
Yeah. Also, I love that this panel here earlier when I was reading. He's like, "You're in my way."
Yeah, exactly. He's not even looking. Exactly. Yeah. He's like looking up the staircase towards the throne room door. He doesn't even care about the mayor that's in front of him at that point.
Well, yeah. So. What are you gonna do? I mean, even he knows that at this point. And yeah, Puck's about to escape, like you said. Says Teresa, I'll come back. She gets really happy. You'll come back for me.
Exactly. Oh.
This can't turn out bad.
Nope.
This isn't Berserk.
Nothing bad ever happens to the child.
And then cuts back to Guts, kicking the priest or that dude through the door.
Mm-hmm.
There he is, standing like a badass.
Yeah. So they meet up in the throne room. Confronts the Count.
Hey, who's your favorite Count, Dracula or Chocula?
Chocula.
I agree. He's the better of the two.
Yeah. I mean, they're basically the same thing, but one has a delicious cereal.
Yeah, the other one drinks blood.
Chocula?
Yeah, right. That was funny.
But yeah, so he confronts the Count, and as always, I have here in the notes, a fight ensues.
Yeah, and actually, like, Guts is approaching him, and this is the first sign you get of, like, his true form.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Guts all these tentacles, and Guts knows
out of the staircase leading up to the throne. Yeah, exactly. And we see the Count's true form, which is this huge, sluggish, much like Zondark was with that, like, the slug demon in him, but this time much bigger and much sluggier.
Yeah. Hold on. Stuff is showing little shots. Well, here's like the outline of his like head and face.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And like we were saying earlier, where it's like faces and faces. Like I think this is another example. Here we go. What the hell, man? That's a weird one.
Yeah, so we see what the Count truly looks like with his full-on Daemon form. And again, a fight ensues. They're going at it. So much so that like parts of the castle begin to collapse and fall down, which causes Teresa to kind of leave her room because like the ceiling is coming down. So she goes out for the first time in years. Basically, the door is open and she leaves her room. And
yeah, again, like we got 2 entire pages, and the only words are "the door is" as she's looking at it open, and it's just like everything that's going on. It's amazing that there's just such little dialogue.
Yeah. They tell a lot with just the images there.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah. So she leaves the room, and then in part of the frenzy of their fighting, the mayor is killed. I think they only show it for like 2 quick panels there.
Yeah, but I love how he does it.
Yeah.
The mayor, right there, he tries to escape, and then Guts steps in front of him, and then the next thing you see is this Guts' little cloak coming out from behind a corner, and the Count is like, "I've got you now," and he smashes it, but then you see that Guts had put the dude in the cloak, and he got himself smashed. I love that.
It was clever.
It was a good setup, and then he distracted him that way, and then Guts pops out of nowhere and tries to cut dude's head off, and he doesn't quite succeed. Yeah,
they keep going back and forth of it, and the chapter basically ends with Guts being tossed about, slammed into walls. Yeah, Charlie says, "Not the mayor."
Yeah, right. My favorite. He was almost as innocent as Vargas.
Exactly.
You're right. Just literally 10 pages in a row of Guts getting the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah, and then it ends on kind of a cliffhanger of gross, grody bug boy. Yeah, I don't know. There we go. Yeah, so it ends and we see a bit of the Eagle Man there. Which I was a fan of these chapters here where we kind of meet the new characters here. But
do you remember Eagle Man?
Exactly. Yeah, he's got something for you.
Exactly.
But yeah, it ends on that with Guts down. The next chapter, the Count is gloating, and Puck is kind of trying to appeal to the Count there, but also calling him out, saying that he became this monster out of grief, because Puck at this point, he knows the story about Teresa and the mother, and during all this, the Behelit falls down.
Yeah.
And Puck kind of snags out of the air. The Count is, Charlie says, look at those low rates.
That's right. Yes.
Cutting back to the Eagle Man, but yeah, so the Behelit falls down. Puck snags it before the Count is able to get it back from Puck. Teresa comes into the throne room there and sees the monstrosity that her father has become.
No. Yeah.
That's my reaction when the rates aren't low.
That's right. Well, I got
look at those high rates. No.
Oh, Eagle Man, who thought you'd make your way into our little podcast here?
Exactly. Well, yeah, the problem is, that's what Griffith looks like. I can't help it.
You're right.
But yeah, so they during all this, Guts kind of snaps out of it. He reawakens. They get back into fighting, and in doing so, he's able to basically decapitate the head of the Count.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm flipping to that.
No, you're good. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, my quote unquote like they fight usually encompasses like 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah, and so Guts does snap out of it, and they are just going back and forth for a minute, but then the Count gets the upper hand again here, and he knocks Guts to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But this seems like it was a plan by Guts all along, because then what he does right there at the end, right as the Count's about to deliver the killing blow, he grabs his daughter and puts him in front of her as a shield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a bold move, but
it's the right move.
Exactly.
And, yeah, so he's blocking her. He's blocking with her right there, and the Count's like, "You bastard!" And then, sure enough, as he's distracted, what Guts does,
yeah, pulls out the cannon hand. Yeah, exactly. When you least expect it, there's a cannon in that hand.
Can you imagine playing paper, scissors, rock with him? I'd be like, use your right hand, dog.
Exactly. Yeah, come on, let's keep it fair.
But yeah, the way this is so cool. So he sets him on fire.
Yep.
And then he goes for his sword, but he realizes, oh crap, my hand's busted. Oh, I've only got one choice.
I've got no good hand, so I'll use my mouth.
At least he's giving you leverage with his one arm.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, it was clever.
And here he is, swiping at the Count, sword in mouth.
Pow. Cuts like right across, like through his neck, if you could call that a neck. Do slugs have necks? Probably not. But yeah, he decapitates the Count right there, and then he just, again, like Guts as kind of like the asshole or the bad guy. He is like taunting the general in front of his wait, if only it's the general. Charlie had mentioned in the chat that as opposed to the Eagle Man, you've got to go with the general. Exactly.
Save some time.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you for distracting me there, Charlie. But he decapitates the Count, and it's just taunting him in front of Teresa, and then also just like stabbing him.
Yeah, just cutting his face apart because he was mocking Guts when he was down.
Oh yeah.
And calling him a fragile human being, and he's like, "I'll show you the limit of a fragile human being." And he starts cutting it into him because same thing. That's why I pointed it out actually earlier with the snake dude. I can't remember his name. I already forgot it. But when he was dying and Guts was like, "Oh, you can't die. I'm just gonna keep like shooting you with arrows and burn you until you're ash, and you're gonna live through that." Yeah, these things can't die. So when Guts gets him in that position, he's like, "Well, I'm just gonna keep cutting you up."
That'll work.
Yeah, you won't be dead, but you'll be incapacitated.
Exactly. And during all this bloodshed, some of it splatters onto the behemoths.
Take a good hard look at a body that doesn't die.
Yeah, hell yeah. And the behemoth awakens from all the blood, and for the first time, we see what the opening of that key actually does.
Blood.
The eyes.
Yeah, it's
open.
cool because the behemoth starts screaming, and then you literally turn the page, and it's like, and you're like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, exactly. I've got it written here that we're transported to the MC Escher world.
That is what that is. You're 100%.
And we're gonna meet the quote unquote great ones, which are apparently the members of the God Hand.
Yeah. And
was there the image of like the silhouette outlines of them when they first show up? Not even silhouettes. We actually get to see them for the first time. So here are apparently the 5 members of the God Hand. We've got Eagle Man. We've got the Succubus Lady. We've got one of the guys that looks like a Cenobite.
And then the dude from Mars Attacks.
Yeah, the Mars Attacks guy I've got written down too. And then the weird like baby fetus thingy.
And Guts mentions there when the behemoth opens, he's like, "We're in another dimension now." And then when you open the next chapter, there's like this weird thing above the castle.
The vortex above the castle.
The townspeople are looking on.
Exactly, yeah. And then the Eagle Man, Guts refers to as Griffith.
Griffith.
Yeah, Griffith. He yells out at him and just rushes at him. Didn't give him the lowest rates, so Guts was angry.
Dude, like I was saying earlier, Oh, these books are so much more convenient. My wrists are totally starting to hurt from like holding this book up because it's so damn
too heavy.
Which is a good thing because it's a lot of product.
That's a lot of product, they say. It was much too big to be called a book.
And yeah, the God-Hander basically, because the Count's head, just still alive and talking, is like asking them to save him, and the God-Hander basically like, well, we arrived because you called out to us, and the Valhalla was activated, and the Count is asking them to take Gut's life, and they're like, well, yeah, we got that covered. He's already marked for the brand of the sacrifice, so that's not why we're here. We're here because you called for help. So you want to keep living. How are we going to work that out?
Yeah, we need a sacrifice. Yeah, so we get some of the backstory, like I said, with the Behelit, the God Hand, Guts, Griffith. But more importantly, we start to figure out here what actually happened to Teresa's mother.
Yeah, and then you start seeing, it's just Guts trying to get at Griffith, but he can't.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they fight, they butt heads for a bit. Yeah. Guts not defeated, but at least kind of, incapacitated for a bit by Griffith. But yeah, when we find out actually what happened to Teresa's mother.
Well, because they say in order for you to save yourself, you have to make a sacrifice, and again, he's like, okay, Guts, and they're like, no, he's already
Doesn't
marked.
Work that way, yeah.
Like, you need to give us something that you don't want to give up. And he's like, well, what? And obviously, they point to the daughter. And then they mention, well, this isn't the first time you've done
it before. This. You know how this works, buddy.
Yeah. And she says, this is what they say. They go, just like what you did last time. And the little girl goes, last time? Mm-hmm. And then the one demon is like, my goodness, the little lady doesn't know what her father has done. And then he starts begging him. He's like, please don't show my daughter. Please don't show my daughter. And he shows the daughter. So he opens up a portal in time, basically.
Yep, and we get the backstory.
7 years ago,
Also, real quick, Raidami says, okay, I'm back. I'll go to sleep after you guys are done streaming.
Yes, good.
I was going to say, Raidami, staying up late and getting to, like, the real, like, nitty-gritty parts here.
Yo, Yankees or Mets? Answer in the chat. And then Islanders or Rangers. I don't care about the other sports, but those ones.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll be eagerly awaiting that. But in the meantime, we'll tell everybody else what actually happened to Teresa's mother. Yeah. So the Count, 7 years ago, the kingdom was apparently overrun with pagans. Yeah. So he would go out on these campaigns and, kill them, hunt them down where they are, and then eventually he would return home. And one time he returned home from the campaign to find his wife in a hedonistic orgy with a Baphomet statue. Yeah. It gets real.
It's graphic, so I'm going to show it in a second, but it is incredibly graphic. Right, I mentioned, it's weird, or maybe not weird, but I didn't realize that it was a statue the first time I read this. I thought it was like a demon being, and then reading
I guess it actually could have been.
No, obviously it's a statue. Because it's this. Remember I pointed out earlier when they were first telling the story, there was that little shadow background of the little goat-headed.
Yeah.
Baphomet. And I was like, it's got the big, why did Kentaro draw that? Well, I think he did it for a reason, because then, here we go, the Count walks in.
Exactly, yeah, cover your eyes if you're under 18.
Yeah, it's a bunch of people fornicating, and, like, this woman is, like, riding that goat thing, like it's a bull, but it's a goat. And, I don't know, man. I actually really felt uncomfortable reading this the first time, because I was like, you kind of get sympathy for the Count. You're like, oh my God, you just walked in, like you're killing all these heretics, and then you walk in and basically they've taken over your wife.
My whole ding-dang wife is a
and like
heretic.
She's like in ecstasy, they say, as she's like making love to this giant statue, and it's like, I mean,
much like the Count, you went into a rage.
Yeah, and so he, the little girl's saying this isn't true, and they're,
Oh, it's all too true, little Teresa.
Yeah, so the Count went into a blind rage, and when he came out of it, not a single person was moving, only heaps of flesh and blood lay scattered about. And there's a picture of him standing over all the bodies.
Yep. Except for one person. His wife was still alive at this point.
Because he couldn't kill her. And so she's a sadistic freak. Because then I like this image, then she knows, like, she has this look of like, okay, go ahead and kill me. Like, what are you going to do? And he can't, so he decides to turn his sword on himself. But in that moment, guess what was activated again 7 years ago?
Uh-oh. It's weird. Yeah, the weird idol on the
face, and there's the Behelit. And lo and behold, in that moment, he summoned the God Hand.
Yep. Johnny, real quick though, I got a question in the chat from Charlie. Would you say he went berserk?
I would.
In this instance, yes.
Yeah, that's probably the word I would use. I like using different synonyms, but that one seems to fit this story.
A blind rage, yeah, exactly. But this time, berserk is appropriate in this case.
Maybe they should have just called the book Blind Rage.
Wouldn't have the same ring to it.
It would not.
Maybe it was in the original Japanese, but through translation it comes out as berserk. But also another answer in the chat here from Raidami. He said Yankees and Rangers. I have no stake in this. I don't know who either of those fellas are, but I'm sure that by your response,
the Rangers, but the '80s Islanders were way cooler when they won 4 straight Stanley Cups, and they had Mike Bossy, who was the most underrated player in NHL history.
Exactly.
I don't know if you know about that.
Don't sleep on Mike Bossy. Wayne Gretzky, who? It's all about Mike Bossy.
If Mike Bossy didn't get injured, I think he would have scored more goals than Wayne Gretzky. That's all the hockey talk for today.
That's what I'm always saying, too.
Back to the God Hand. But yeah, so the God Hand show up. We'll talk next week, man. But we're having pizza. I'll talk some sports. But the God Hand shows up, and they basically are saying...
Yeah, at that point, even though he killed everybody but his wife, he couldn't bring himself to actually kill his wife. So he was so, stricken with grief, and he kind of calls out, for his life to be taken. But yeah, that awakens the Behelit and summons the God Hand, and they promise him to make him a supernatural being free from sorrow and despair in exchange for a sacrifice.
Yeah, and he just has to say the phrase, "I sacrifice this woman," and he does, and then you turn the page, and he's turned into his beast form, he's tearing her apart, and I don't know if you can see it here, but you can see on her chest, she's branded with the mark of sacrifice, so he tore her apart, and of course, this is all being showed to his daughter.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, by the way, yeah, here's a movie for you.
Home movies! Grab the popcorn!
Poor
Teresa.
It.
I offer this woman for sacrifice. So now they're saying, yeah, just do it again. Like, do it again, and you'll be immortal. Your transition to the dark side will be complete. And
chapter ends there more or less.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so they're egging him on to do it. Chapter ends, and then we turn the page. And
who are these young fellas, Johnny? It's in the middle.
It's you and me. It's us when we shave.
Am I Griffith?
That's what I was thinking. You got the hair for it.
I guess, yeah. The
evil man.
Pretty boy jackass, I guess. I don't know.
There you go.
Pretty boy is generous, though, so.
He is. So we turn the page, and like you said, there's like this little battlefield, and there's these 2 young men, and one of them is clearly Guts. But he's younger. And
I was going to say, young men also.
And 2 eyes.
It's also exactly. Why does he have so many arms and eyes? I don't know if this is just a Kentaro thing, but much like Puck at the start here, like Griffith is androgynous enough where it was kind of I didn't know that it was a guy for the first second there.
Oh, really?
Because he's got the long flowing hair.
Actually, I can see it in the book. See, in the anime, it was obvious right from the start that it was a dude. But you're right. If I didn't know,
yeah, he's got very androgynous features. So yeah, it is but then
a very pretty, fair.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can look like a chick.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like Princess Mononoke or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we meet a young Guts and Griffith. Guts not really saying much in this case. It's more Griffith, like after a battle, contemplating his place in the world. We get some like philosophical thoughts and talk from a young Griffith. To which Guts basically just like sneers at him during all this.
Yeah, and then you turn the page and it's this huge shot which I'm going to show in a second. It's Griffith saying, "You're the first person I've ever spoken to like this." And it's the shot of him right there, but in the background is the eagle form. And you're like, is that the same dude? Well, you're shouting out Griffith to him.
Yeah,
so
apparently, yeah.
So now all the context we have is that Guts has 1 eye, 1 arm, is on this quest to kill this Griffith dude, but apparently they have some type of history.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll get into more of that later. But here we are back with the God Hand, and they want Teresa as a sacrifice. And a portal to hell opens.
Yeah. I'm going to turn to that in a second. Mm-hmm. Yep, there it is. Portal to hell.
Yep. And to trim it down here, the Count is unable to make that sacrifice. And out from the portal, basically a tentacle of bodies arises from it and reaches out and grabs for the Count and like quite literally drags him to hell. And speaking of full circle here, one of the bodies that is noticed on the pile is your friend and mine, Vargas.
Yeah, can you see him there?
Yep, there he is, our one-eyed boy, kind of leading the charge of these, these dead souls and bodies coming out to claim the Count as one of their own.
Yeah, but they were, the guy there was saying, like, once you become that, you lose your sense of being, you lose all your memories,
Yep.
You're just a mindless
Yeah,
soul
exactly.
wandering for all of eternity. And, like, in kind of a redemption moment, he gets sacrificed instead of the daughter.
Yeah, he doesn't let his daughter get taken, and he gets dragged off. And then also Guts is kind of getting dragged off too by this.
Yeah, because he's got the mark of the brand of sacrifice.
Exactly, yeah. So the God Hand is claiming their own. But Guts not willing to go down so easily. He fires off from his favorite weapon, his cannon arm. He fires a shot right at Griffith.
Griffith.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's a prize for you. Which kind of knocks him loose. The shot doesn't actually hit Griffith, and with that, the God Hand themselves are gone.
Yeah, they got what they came for.
Yeah, we cut back to town, and yeah, like it's the vortex that was opened up over the castle is gone. And the dimension that was opened up seems to have returned back to normal, and we're back in the castle with Teresa grieving, which reasonable for like this 10-year-old or younger girl. Her father was apparently a slug demon, got literally dragged to hell in front of her. She saw the brutal destruction of her mother. Quite a night for this young girl who had basically been living in her room her entire life too. Her first time out is this, and man, what a rough one for her. And she's grieving. But Guts here, again, not a good guy, just comes up to her and says basically she should kill herself if she's so distraught by all of this. He just says, all right, well, if that's how you feel about this, if you're so taken aback, you should kill yourself.
Well, because she started blaming Puck and him for everything, saying that when they showed up, it all went wrong. And he does, points her to a knife on the ground there.
Exactly. Yeah, says, all right, yeah.
Slit your wrist.
Yeah, you should do it. You'll probably go to heaven. You'll be with.
Yeah, I like that.
Your mom and your dad are in hell, but hey, at least you'll go to heaven because you're probably a good person. So.
So yeah, she picks up the knife and she's about to do it.
Yeah,
she's kind of in this trance state there where she's literally about to slit her wrist.
Yeah,
and
Guts
Puck,
just watches on, but yeah, Puck literally lays himself across her wrist, putting himself between the wrist and the knife.
Yeah.
And Teresa's about to do it, but the ground underneath Teresa kind of crumbles a bit because the castle was left in a state of disrepair there.
And Guts throws out his sword and catches her.
Yep. Which she grabs on by the blade, which is
and you can see right there that it slices
exactly her hands start to bleed. He lifts her back up and kind of saves her, but Teresa at this point is still blaming it all on Guts and swears revenge on him that one day she'll come back and she'll kill him.
Two things real quick about that.
Yeah.
One, throwback to Kill Bill, anybody, and number two, I'm calling it now. What if that's the end of the series? What if the last panel is little girl coming back?
Oh man,
book one. And
because I was gonna say I assumed that at some points during all this we'd meet Teresa again, but I guess if you,
I'm leaving that spoiler free, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, basically she's threatening him, and he starts walking away.
And he's open to that. He's like, all right, yeah, come at me, kid.
And then Puck's following him and says, "Wait, what up?" And again, one of those few moments she catches up to him and he's got this look on his face and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? Why do you look that way?" And he's like, "Guts." And then it cuts away and it goes into another flashback. So I'm gonna tell you right there, that's the end of we get in that current timeline.
Yeah, exactly. So there's one more chapter in this book, and it's called Golden Age Chapter 1. That was the end of the Guardians of Desire, which was basically that's more or less the whole second book of that. But this last chapter is kind of cuts more into Guts' origin story. At this point, Guts is basically a full-grown man. We'd seen a lot of his life beforehand. But yeah, hell yeah, God, one of the most metal scenes that we've got here. And here is the second quote that I basically had. This was the one that I was going to use at the ready here. Just picture me holding a lighter for this one. But under the dead body of its mother, The baby made its birthing cries, cradled in a mire of blood and afterbirth, which is how we first meet Guts, literally in the blood and guts of his dead, hanged mother, which is quite a powerful image there.
Yeah, so he's on that page. There he is, right there. Little baby Guts. There's the umbilical cord coming down from his hanging mother.
So, what a way to be born. So this last chapter here is a lot of Guts taken as a child there into a roaming band of mercenaries led by Gambino. Just a great name, by the way, if you want an actual real name. And he's taken into this band. He's raised from basically from that young age to be a fighter. I think like when he's 3 years old, he's given like more or less a sword. Like he's kind of like brought along on sieges.
Did you mention the mother dies?
Yeah, well, not his actual mother. The woman who picked him up. Cersei, I believe it was.
Well, everybody when they picked him up were like, probably a bad omen to grab a kid from a pile of guts.
Yeah, dead bodies and
Yeah, and they're kind of like critical of them taking the kid. They're like, we're kind of out here like as a mercenary group. We don't need bad omens following us.
Yeah.
And after the mother dies of the plagues, and people are like, well, probably because of the kid.
Yep.
Stupid kid.
So
plagues.
She dies, and again, like he's raised from a young age to basically be one of the mercenaries too. Like he's along for sword fights. He's being trained.
Yeah, there's this little child swinging.
Exactly. Yeah, which again, kind of an allusion to him later having the huge sword too, because they mentioned there, like, hey, we don't have weapons for kids here. Like if you want to train with a sword, you use an actual sword. So it's a sword that's basically like as big, if not bigger, than little baby Guts. But yeah, we just see him as a young kid partaking in sieges of castles, getting his first kills, almost getting killed. He gets paid as a mercenary, and he throws his money to Gambino, who kind of throws him some money back. So it's kind of, this is his father figure here, and there we go. Yeah, little Guts and Gambino. What a nice image. And the book ends there, and nothing bad at all happens to Guts, and that's how I want to remember it.
Nope, something else happens. You're missing something.
Yeah.
I'll take over. So, because I'm whatever. Yeah, so, Gambino tosses him back this money, and they have this really nice little exchange where he's like, here you go. And he says, keep it up. And Guts is like, I will. And they kind of like smile back at each
exactly.
other.
What a nice touching moment.
And then, Guts walks away, and this dude comes out of nowhere, and he says, Gambino. Says, what? Something I could do for you, Donovan? And there's Donnie. There's our pal Donnie. What can I do for you, Donovan? And then it cuts to our little boy Guts sleeping in bed. And he's shaking, and he says, whenever it gets to be this time, I can't stop shaking. And there he is, all scared. And then all of a sudden, his little hut opens, and he says, who's there? There's a shadowy figure, and he says, Donovan, and Donovan's standing over him. And, Guts notices something's weird. Donovan reaches out his hand. Guts goes for his sword. Donovan knocks out of the way, and then Donovan... Yeah, that's the last image we see.
All right, and that's Berserk for you, everybody.
And you turn the page then, and you know how we said that this book is made up of 3 different books, and those all had it's made up of 3 different books. These are the covers to book 1 and 2.
Yeah, if you had the actual manga volumes, that's what would be on there.
Yeah, and then here's book 3 cover. And these pages are a little different. They're like glossier and a little different. Yeah, they're a little thicker.
Yeah,
they're
paper
nice
stock.
pages. And it's got a little thing of Kentaro Miura.
And that's it. That's all you get for book 1. Yeah, it's left on a cliffhanger of little Guts getting his tent broken into, and that's it.
I'm going to tell you guys something. We find out what happens in the tent. What do you want to know?
I don't know if I want to know. I mean, I know we've got the volumes coming in, so I'll find out soon enough. But man, what a wild! Yeah, I mean, like that's a hell of a cliffhanger.
Well, I mean, this was in the book. We didn't talk about it, so I don't feel like this is spoilers.
Sure.
But early in the book, when Puck went to touch him for the first time, he was really like, "Don't touch me. Nobody touches me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Get away from me." And then it ends on this.
So, yeah.
You put 2 and 2 together.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we already know this is a kind of a rough world, nobody's safe, and there's not really any
no
good
limits,
people.
no boundaries. Yeah. Which, for Kentaro Miura, it's like, again, kind of going, it does seem like he's this morbid, grotesque person that's writing these disgusting stories, but it's like, there's real consequence. There's these real world things that are sad and crappy, but they're real.
Yeah, and he portrays it in kind of an interesting light too of like the horrors of war that's going on, and a cruel leader, which is basically like the first chapters of this book is all about the Count and the Baron and all that. Now we get to see why Guts had he became the person that he is. It's seemed to have had a hell of a childhood. Again, quite literally like being born in his first moments in like the afterbirth of his dead mom, and it's truly puts the dark in dark fantasy, but at the same time definitely has me wanting more, and I'm kind of looking forward to following up on the rest of it. And you say in the anime, in the movie, like this Golden Age stuff is kind of where it begins, right? Like it starts off with young
it covers
mercenary.
the Golden Age arc, so it gives you the first episode. The anime is 26 episodes or 25, and the first episode, it gives a very quick abbreviation of all the Black Swordsman stuff.
Yeah.
And then it cuts, the rest of the series is the Golden Age arc, which we just started.
Yeah.
So essentially the anime covers books 3 through 15.
Okay.
That's the way to look at it.
But so that's the full 3 volumes in deluxe edition number 1. As we said at the start of this, we'll say it again. Definitely recommend it. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. It seems.
Yes.
So.
100%.
Yeah, great art, great story, and there's definitely more there if you want to follow it. Like we said, in this book, each of these volumes collects, or each of these deluxe editions collects 3 volumes. There's a total right now of 40 Berserk volumes and 5 deluxe editions. So we could get up to volume number 15 in the deluxe edition form. And then from there, you're going to have to wait with the rest of us to get the rest of it.
But book 6 is already solicited, and I think 7 is.
I think so, yeah.
And they're pumping like 3 and 4 of these out a year. They're coming out very
planned,
frequently. So they're going to get this done. I mean, within the next 2 years, they'll be caught up. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and then hopefully by then, there'll be more of a resolution too, but we'll see.
I have heard, I should clarify, I've read the manga up to the point where the anime stops, because I want to read the rest of the story, like I was saying, in kind of one straight shot.
Yeah.
But I've heard that some things that got brought up in this first story get resolved, and others are still untied ends. So I don't know which they are. So that's not spoilers. But I just know that certain things come full circle and certain things haven't yet.
Okay. But so hell of a read, a good choice, good follow up too with Uzumaki. We're in a manga mood, but I think we'll probably have to choose something non-manga at least for a little bit. Get back into the comics.
Palate cleanser.
I've got a selection or a choice here.
Thinking? I'm down. It sounds like something fun.
Yeah.
On the surface, fun.
Sure. If you want to stall for a second here, 1 second here.
Yeah.
If you guys had to put from Raidami here, if you guys had to pick one person from the book to eliminate, who would it be? Man, the Raidami, that sounds sinister. If I could choose one to not eliminate, I would definitely choose Vargas. I feel like he should have gotten better. But to eliminate, I'll think on that. I'll let you choose on this one. I'm gonna run and grab my selection for next week.
Because even though I was saying earlier the comic relief is good, the anime doesn't have it, and it does work. So I think it could work. It just would be really dark. I think you'd have to go into it knowing, like, I'm going to be subjected to some pretty disturbing stuff for the rest of my read. Also, Raidami, real quick. Yankees fan, huh? I mean, that's pretty easy when they just buy their way to championships every single year. Or not every single year, but every championship they just buy their way to. No, I'm kidding. I'm a really big baseball fan, so I could talk sports with you all day. But yeah, as far as the book goes, for real, I'd say Puck. Um,
I don't know if
I like everybody else. I don't
I don't
know.
know if I agree with that. Like,
We'll pick it then.
I well, to be fair, there's not that many like lasting characters too. It's like Guts, Puck, and then
How about
the
this?
God Hand.
When we ask that same question again, you have to read a couple more books, and we have more characters.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I like Puck and I like Vargas. Bring back Vargas. F in the chat for Vargas.
All about that Varg.
He was cool.
was
He had a sweet little like wizard hut that he lived in. Like we kind of like glossed over. We didn't show too many images from it, but he had like his weird like he had like a dead elf like in a like a formaldehyde jar and stuff like that. So I don't know. He was living the dream. In an RPG or anything like that, I would definitely thank you, right on me. A lot of F's in the chat. Charlie saying eliminate Guts. Yeah, get Guts out of my Berserk animes. Yeah, but with Guts and Berserk gone, here is my suggestion. Here we've got We 3. We had like a lot of sadness going on, a lot of rough comics. Here's just a nice comic about we got a rabbit, we got a dog, and then we got a cat. It's nice, it's beautiful. Surely nothing bad happens. Look at this dog.
Something bad's gonna happen in this game.
Here, I'll show it to Johnny too because he can actually see on stream. But yeah, check out that dog. It's a nice book. It's We 3 by my boy Grant Morrison, a name you might be familiar with too. Yeah. So it's a standalone graphic novel. Like you don't have to like have any forehand knowledge or anything like that. The kind of like shorthand of it is it's kind of homeward bound, but with cyborg animals instead of animals. So yeah, and also like yeah, Charlie says a rabbit, a dog, and a cat. What could possibly look on? Wait, Charlie, he says the dog looked possessed. What are you talking about? Look at this sad, this normal, very normal. Oh boy, don't look at that page. Oh, he is lost. He's missing. Look at that sad dog. Answers to Bandit. But yeah, also like, let's get a side by side here of the thickness of the books here. Like I'm sure Johnny and I will be happy to see. Like there you go. That'll be a quick little read and a quick little chat for us. But I think as far as kind of like a palate cleanser and jumping back into actual comics, it's a book that I definitely liked when I read back in high school. But I would definitely like to get back into it and reread it because I definitely remember liking it. So and I'm a fan of Grant Morrison. I like a lot of his stuff. So getting to go back into that should be pretty fun and easy. Yeah, and Babiota says an encyclopedia versus like a magazine, basically the two the two books you got there. But I mean, again, there's not like there's
Watchmen took way longer.
There's actual text on these pages though,
yeah.
Johnny. We're not just there's 30 pages of fight scenes. Although I opened up to a fight scene, but
Go figure. Yeah, I'm down to read that though. We 3 by
yeah. Again,
Frank Quietly?
Frank Quietly by Vertigo. So
cool.
the Vertigo imprint of DC. So that's for young adults like me. Charlie says, "Whoa, you're saying manga aren't actually comics?" No. If it's called a comic, it's a comic, Charlie. Manga isn't a comic. It's
the line has been drawn, people.
Exactly.
Come back next week for Charlie versus Mike round 1.
Exactly. Yeah, our debate of manga versus comic. But yeah. So again, so this one. $15, a lot easier of an ask than the $50 for Berserk. Also, we've got extras at the store too. So if you're watching this, if you want to read along, you can either stop by the store for during the week of the comics that we're reading. We're having them for I believe it was 15 or 20% off. So you get a discount if you want to grab the book and read along with us. Like I said, a lot easier of an ask. It's a self-contained story from start to finish. So it's a quick little read, and I think a lot of people will like it. I remember liking it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll change my mind, but I highly doubt it. But yeah, so thanks everybody for joining us for Berserk. Next week will be We 3. We've got a rabbit, a dog, and a cat. What could possibly go wrong? Exactly. Yeah, that's what it says on the back of the book.
Was it really?
No.
Oh,
it's the quote, by Los Angeles City Beats says, "What could possibly go wrong?"
all right then.
Yeah, we'll get into that later too, Charlie. But yeah, thanks again for everybody for stopping by. Thanks for sticking around again, right, Dami? I hope this will be. Yeah, right when I say that. Okay, good night. I'm really sleepy, so that's right, Dami. Yeah, thanks for sticking around, right, Dami?
Tuesday pizza.
Exactly. Yeah, try not to have any nightmares after all the Berserk stuff that we read. But hopefully, after reading V3, you'll have sweet dreams again. So, as always, thanks everybody for stopping by. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8, where we'll do news and we'll do some sales. And then next Wednesday, we'll be talking about our review and recap of V3. So, as always, thanks everybody for stopping by. And remember, not all heroes wear capes.